we're discussing the second wave of feminism and its place in the Armenian genocide.
No
pressure,
Yeah, I think I can definitely roll on the back of that. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us and introducing us. That was a weight off my shoulders. This is the Serpent Temple podcast. I'm going to use Psycards to delve deep into the mind of Hal Sinden from Talanas. Basically, Psycards are like, some people use them in a spiritual, divinatory way. I use them in a Jungian, psychological, therapeutic way. Each card is an archetype. For example, with cool artwork, this is a tree. This is the Inquirer card. This is Hal as a card.
I've often thought that.
You are now a card.
Right, good.
You are a card now. So basically the idea is you're going to shuffle the deck, you're going to imbue the deck with your spirit, and then we're going to spread out the cards in a particular formation, and where the cards are in relation to the Inquirer is where that archetype is in relation to you. And we will flip over the cards one by one, and you will tell me if you feel any connection with them. I'll read a description in this here book, and you can see if anything resonates with you.
Interesting you're saying about the Jungian things. Does this mean like at the end of it we'll have a nice little red book?
Well, it depends how the spirits bless us. If they materialize us a red book, that'd be pretty sick. So in the meantime, while you shuffle the cards, why don't you tell us about the kind of music you make? What do you do? How do you sound?
So the kind of music that I that's a kettle of worms, isn't it? I'm something of a proponent and staunch defender of the fact that the lines of genre and subgenre are starting to blur, and rightly so. So much so that I'm going to be as pretentious to say that my band make metal. I mean, that is undeniable, because in its majority there is a lot of metal going on within the music, but with the amount of compound influences and everything else that we have, I'm kind of hesitant to, we used to go sort of like, we're sort of progressive technical death metal, like, alright, and then I realised that little genre tags, literally hashtags on Instagram now are king, and they are currency. And I put it this way, I just regard this as a musical band. That's terribly self-righteous. It's like, we can do whatever we want, we might be Radiohead next. It's like, no, fuck off, you're not. It's just like Akakaka cosplay. But, so basically, let's be honest.
I wasn't going to mention that.
Struck a chord there.
I think our camera just broke.
But basically, I discovered that I started getting, because I run all the sort of social media side of things, or rather, I decide that I do it, no one else does. And when I start pushing certain hashtags, we get certain responses, such as, what was the one? Atmospheric death metal is one that was a side that completely hit me as a side point, and then gothic death metal, which just makes me think of people in really shit satin poet shirts just crying over a rose.
Something wrong with poetry.
No, it's perfectly fine, but it's not satin. And it's really important to there's a distinction here. You see, nothing against Germans. This isn't a xenophobic point, but I notice there's a vast amount of German teenagers who don't find it ironic that they're wearing a velvet poet shirt. It's complete, and it's coloured like purple. Because Lord Byron loved a purple satin poet shirt. No, we didn't. Anyway, I digress for my entire life. Basically, we have our roots in death metal, but we also love stuff like Tears for Fears and everything else like that. So that's what happens. I believe my whiskey is imbued into
Okay,
that.
well, keep holding it.
I hold it.
I'm just going to
right.
show you where to put stuff. So the first
Right.
card, all face down, a bit of a jaunty angle on the Inquirer, please.
Righty-o, I'm going to pop it the one that pleases me.
Oh yeah, angle it all as you desire.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
and then
good
so
with
first card goes on top.
Face down.
Face down, all face down. No revealing just yet.
Yeah.
Second card, like that. Second card here. Third card here. Fourth card here. Number 5.
Can I just say, I've been waiting since the beginning for someone to do a casino shuffle, so I'm glad it's fine.
Oh, really? That's because I can't do all the amazing, we were like, fuck it. and then they'll sock back in like, I'm God.
We're going to get like Magic the Gathering sleeves for you, so we can shuffle them properly. Number 7. Number 8 over there. 9. we might not get to these, but 10,
Right.
11, 12,
Wow.
13. Yeah, this is a diamond formation. 14, 15. So basically, all these cards in the center are the archetypes that are closest to you. This is what's informing you, like how you see all these things. This is your center. This is your underlying influence, things that drive you forward. These are coming into like fruition in your future. These cards on the edge. This is where you're going. This is your outer projection.
Oh, it is directional, right? I see what you mean. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
compass.
right. Okay, gotcha. What happens if I win?
We'll find out.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's
No one's won yet, so.
No, we're all losers.
By the way, I'm an absolutely terrible co-host. I'm still learning. This is Floyd.
Yes.
And we've got Orch, our beautiful artist in the corner. You can't see him because he's so beautiful. He'll break the camera. He does incredible art. He's Orch London on Instagram. Yeah, his art is sick.
Well, it's just worth bearing in mind that when that's not a light, it's just his absolute.
Radiance. Absolute radiance. We are radiantly lit by Orch, our benevolent benefactor. Thank you so much for coming, Orch. We love you so much. We legit do love you as well. It's
No,
true.
I really do.
If you're ready
It's
for
been
the
what,
end.
half an hour?
This is the first card to turn over.
Righty-ho.
Are you not going to introduce me?
Oh, this is
Thanks, babe.
Sorry, babe. Behind the camera is my boyfriend and partner and co-camera conspirator, Shem. Thank you for coming. Thank you for making it all work. Please don't edit me bad.
Okay, so we've got that.
Money! Hell yeah.
See how chance of it if I think.
You're literally made of money. I'm going to read the description. Number 10. A ploughman guides a horse-drawn plough, cutting furrows in the field on a winter's day. In the foreground lie precious silver coins waiting to be discovered. This card stands for the need for money. It also gives a possibility that we may achieve material wealth, whether it is by our own labours, by good luck, investment, or by inheritance.
Intriguing. Okay, all about the material wealth, because let's face it, it's all we know. What an interesting thing that it mentions that the ploughman guiding that which is pulling it.
Yeah.
You know, it's obviously can raise a lot of stuff there, and being like, well, hang on a minute, this enormously huge four-legged muscle thing. it's like, I'm guiding it. Yeah, of course you are. Yeah, I mean, that horse basically flipped. Oh, by the way, for the sake of people viewing it, there's a very beautiful bit of artwork on that card.
The art piece is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's
you
very-
can't really see from over
very
there, but I'm really
Yeah.
we're gonna mention it.
Yes, it's very lovely, but interesting connotations with it. That it's sort of discovery rather than it coming to you.
Yeah, like because there's a fortune card as well, which is like more of the traditional sense of
Okay.
like the Stoic sense of fortune.
Mm.
What happens? What happens? Money, I think, is really interesting because it's about the fact that it's there and you're gonna find it. The kind of idea of like maybe perhaps art being there and you're finding your art when you're writing, for example. Because you haven't released music since 2014.
Bloody hell, is it in there? Yes, I suppose so. Yes. Yeah, which is it's, you know, I think this year for the want of future viewers, you know, having at least the UK spent a vast amount of this year in lockdown due to COVID, and most of the world has anyway. I think a lot of people have lost heart in certain pursuits and areas of their life. And I have palpably felt a sort of a pulling back in my own desires and interests within the musical side of things. That is a loaded comment because there is obviously more to it, but I think when anyone that has the benefit of having a cross-disciplinary interest within creative arts and everything like that, I have the benefit of, you know, I started off in film. So for me to sort of pull back and go to another discipline, it's like, oh, I occasionally get bored of playing guitar. And as weird as we've had it this week, I've been like, oh, I miss drums. But I was able to pull back from music a fair bit over the last sort of year or so and go, oh, right, yeah, but it's not that I stop creating, it's just I'm sort of doing, I'm still, funnily enough, because it's the next most logical thing, I'm still working with a lot of musicians who are my contemporaries, peers, and heroes. That this is shaped a lot of people like my Dying Bride, who massive influence on my band, who I haven't gone away going, that long hair business, no. I'm just working with just jazz. So I'm still working within that, but I think releasing, with Talanas, we've really been kicked in the nuts very hard by a number of things. So there's been a lot of things that have caused us to lag, and in fact it got to the point where it's funny to bring this up, but a person that I've known and admire greatly who runs a publication called The Modern Alternative, Alex Figures, reposted one of our earlier videos only this week and said, great band, really love them, but he said that the wheels do not turn fast for Talanas, but when they're doing work. So that's really intriguing, because when we began, we were like, okay, well, we're going to release this EP, and then immediately, we got the album, and then there's other stuff. And so suddenly went, and it's like a release per year. From when we our first release was 2010, and then that's Reason and Abstract, Wallskeeper 2011, and all this business like that, and we did all the stuff. And so, in my opinion, it's kind of like it's not that we do things slowly, it's just suddenly when it was like, vomit of stuff, and then suddenly like, the mopping of the face happened for about 6 years.
You're ploughing the fields.
I'll be ready again. Not ploughing the fields.
That's an interesting first card. So that's like your centre.
Right.
It's very capitalistic.
Yeah.
That's number 2.
Mm-hmm. And behind door number 2 is the beautiful Miss Debbie McGee.
I've got to say quickly, just before the cards are revealed, because I can't get it out of my head, when you talked about giving birth to a car. My partner was once asked.
I once had twins.
I really want to know where this is going.
The actual story is weirder than that. My partner was once asked to write fan fiction about Transformers, and specifically with the exhaust pipe being the place of insertion.
Oh.
But why was she commissioned for?
I don't know. I think she was writing fan fiction for Destiny at the time.
I see.
Which is a video game, and there's like mechs in there, so it kind of evolved from there.
You put your back.
It's my back impersonation.
It's surprisingly lucrative.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah. I found I hope I'm going to hideously sort of paraphrase it, but is it called Flash, which is the gay fanfic stuff? There's a lot of money to be had in that.
I'm going to write that down.
No, really. Because I again, nothing completely open about it, that in this lockdown, where I've had financially just a fucking nightmare, which is funny that it comes up as money like well, the card seller, I'm just like, where's my money? I should take that card.
Digging into the ground.
Well, just take that card with me, just try and put it in ATM. Like, come on! But basically, I lost a day job the month before we went into lockdown.
Oh shit.
And it was a company that I'd helped set up that I was the marketing manager for as well. And so I went back to the next last thing that I used to make for my income, which is voiceover work.
Oh, nice.
And some of the most lucrative voiceovers that I've done has been basically kind of homoerotic fiction.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
It's amazing in principle. Some of it isn't so good.
Good in terms of a writerly sense, or I'm assuming that was
some of it's absolutely fine, but like the odd occasion where you sort of realise I've got to read like an entire novel where I'm going to be this particular character, and like, wow, that's really quite transparent. But purely out of interest, it's obviously now metrics is our currency in the digital age. If you can get access to see who your demographic are and who the people are that are watching, that's just gold dust. And one of the authors that I've worked for quite regularly doing this sort of homoerotic sort of stuff is he actually got access to metrics once, which is brilliant, and discovered that the median average kind of thing of like, if you were to embody a particular person, that was his main listener was a middle America married housewife.
Oh.
For male, basically gay porn.
Huh.
he also had the opportunity to get feedback from and struck up a conversation with who he identified as kind of like, Karen is Karen and that's who it is, and got into a conversation with her, and thankfully she's very responsive, and said, look, can I just ask, you're married, obviously we're all into different things, what's going on there? It's like, yeah, well, my husband doesn't see it as cheating, because it's guys. And you work that one out. It's like, I had it that human's a human, but it's like, all right, to a middle American, that's like, yeah, but in Monogamyville, it's like,
doesn't count because
no, it doesn't count. Doesn't count because it's gay.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it's like, doesn't count if you shout Slayer.
Very classical. Yeah.
Weird. Anyway, skills. We have the skills.
But they're inverted.
Right.
So you have inversions in this as well, and it's number 9. So
I don't got the skills.
Well, it might be that you shuffled it upside down and the money's actually inverted, so we'll see what comes out most inverted.
Right, okay.
The skills number, there was a typo in the book, so the skills is listed actually as number 6.
You're going to die.
It must be a typo.
That looks fine, they're all the murder card. Okay. A taut-stringed crossbow with arrows in a quiver and 2 arrows which are stood upright in the grassy earth. I should show the camera. Very far away skills. The arrows symbolize the skills with which we are born and those we acquire through education. The card therefore denotes our talent, sporting prowess, expertise, cleverness, and the equipment we use at work and play. I thought this is very you.
That's interesting.
Very educated and skilled.
But if it's inverted,
Indeed. What does that mean?
would that suggest? I mean, I'm a little lost on this sort of explanation. Would it necessarily imply that it's the difference between inherent skill and assumed?
Potentially. I think the card is ambiguous for that reason.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
I think this kind of deck thrives on ambiguity because then you can fill in what you feel is most appropriate for you.
Yeah. Because it sort of brings up a sort of interesting prospect of like when people are saying that. I mean, at the moment now, every trope and known term is sort of decreed somehow offensive to someone at some point, and mostly with good intention. But something that I found fascinating that people jumped on recently is saying, "Oh, you're so, to creative artists, oh, you're so talented," blah, 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 which is obviously meant in a nice way. But there is a difference between talent and skill.
Skill, you've developed it, you've educated yourself, you spent time. Whereas I think people put more value on talent as being inherited, because I think in this culture we think it's a negative thing if someone works too hard on something.
Yeah, I think that yes, absolutely. I think also there's a considerable element of a lot of people. I think it kind of comes down to that hideous thing that people say about someone's got a lot of time on their hands, which is a pernicious thing to say.
Yeah.
It sort of implies that what you spent a lot of time creating to present as if it were idle whimsy, and like, oh, I just do that, has actually taken a great amount of time, so therefore it's not of any worth. Talent, rather than skill, and it's as seen in Britain's Got Talent and everything like that, which is great for it all. But I think talent is used preferentially because it makes a number of people feel less shit about how they use their idle time. Skill requires that I think there's some totally arbitrary figure calculation saying that you need to spend something like 720 hours or something like that doing one particular thing in order to approach mastering it. Be that literally drawing, fine art, to operating a bit of machinery that isn't in any way expressive. However, it is totally scary on the flip side of this. I have met people who appear to have a sort of applied skill across formats that they didn't even know that were a thing.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, one could say that I've seen incredible musicians who were just polymaths, but inherent polymaths seemingly that they were just playing guitar amazing. Someone, have you ever tried a violin? No, I haven't. Fuck. Just want me to become Paganini. How? But it's because it's relatively transferable. But therein lies that sort of discussion of whether talent is in fact inherent. In my opinion, I'm slightly more of the pragmatic and cynical side of things. No, I think the person that I've literally seen pick up a violin, never having played one before, produced passable notes rather than a cat being pushed through a baby kind of sound. Is more that if you look at it from a broader perspective, well, they play a stringed instrument. It's relatively likely they're going to be good at another one if once they work out what the interval of the strings are. But I was brought up in sort of I suppose one could say an artistic family of sorts, but everyone is involved in performing arts in some way in my family. So it's not unreasonable to imagine that a few of them were just like, oh yeah, well, I have a cousin that's exceptionally good at landscape gardening. But that in itself is that she doesn't, she can dig in the earth and make an amazing garden, but she's very good at designing it from roots, from the roots perspective of just like drawing down.
Yeah.
Sort of.
It's composition.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I am more of the opinion that it's nurture, not necessarily nature. I don't deny that there are people who have a skill ingrained, or that it's quite likely that this particular type of bird is very, very good at kicking the shit out of ferrets or something like that, because they're the only ones that have survived in the line of the ones that weren't good at kicking the shit out of ferrets, and ferrets kick the shit out of them if not. So that I do get that's fine. Why is it that a deer can walk within minutes of being born? Fine, morphic knowledge and whatnot.
Is a deer talented for doing so?
Yeah, massively. I mean, I like Deer's second album, but that was a bit more quadrupedal, It's but pedestrian. But there you are. Yes, that's very, very intriguing. This inverted worries me slightly.
Well, it could be that the money's inverted.
Oh god, they're neither's good.
Or maybe it's just symmetry. It could be merely just innocent symmetry.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the pessimism half hour. You're going to die very soon.
And this is the third card.
Righty ho.
Never.
Never.
Ah, fuck. Money
Money.
and they've spoken. Brilliant. Well, at least it's not the same as skills. I think, would you rather be poor and skilled or rich and unskilled? I don't know.
Do you want to be rich and boring?
I think I'd rather be rich and boring, but I don't know.
It's Tim nice but dim, isn't it? It's sort of like, I mean, lovely guy, but not a lot to say. I don't know. I mean, anyone either side of either spectrum, or extreme of existence is going to say the other's better.
Right.
Grass. I mean, I can't even see the grass on the other side at the moment. I don't know. I've just got my guitar and I'm hoping it'll go okay.
It's just strings. Yeah. Well, I'll read the Never card.
Go ahead.
It's not very verbose. It just says a black raven standing upon a skeleton in the snow, a bleak outlook, the possibility of failure, and the denial of fulfillment.
That's it. There's going to come a point where there's something like bursting through a wall. And you've been done. It's like, oh, it's proving your life is a mess.
There's going to be like thousands of ravens.
Nevermore's just too positive for that one.
So tempted to just take that out of the deck. It's such a depressing card. Well, yeah, I'm really sorry. There could just be a COVID year, a Corvus COVID year.
Certainly. I mean, I'd be really interested to know, because I know very little about the exact sort of eras in which tarot and anything like that, or Psycards or anything like that, were developed. I'm going to assume that obviously they are referencing Nevermore.
Yeah.
Within that.
Off the Raven.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Interesting.
I'm not going to expect you to expand on that one too much, unless you have a...
Nah, let's move on to the next one.
I mean, one thing I will say though is particularly on that is that it does actually raise this thing. I've been maybe too anti-American, but it's so terribly easy at the moment. That there's a very considerable thing within American, shall we say, aspirational culture. Was impossible is nothing. Lovely. What a lovely sentiment. But that's not strictly true, in the sense that I had this debate with someone recently about saying that there's a lot of certain areas of American culture and society where they're like, you can never say never, and you can do anything, you can do whatever you want, set your mind to it. And it's like that's nice. But I posited this idea that like the quadriplegic who just wants to run the marathon, saying that impossible is nothing. It's like that's a little uncouth.
Yeah.
But in fairness to the person I was debating it with, they said, well, let's say Mr. Quadriplegic Tim or so whatever, who regrettably doesn't have mobility as an option, wants to go to the moon, it's probably unlikely. However, if that person so realised it and put their mind to something, they could develop software that would maybe at some point put a quadriplegic on the moon.
Yeah.
Nice idea. But that's
Not the same thing.
it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So as a blanket statement to say, you can do whatever you want, as long as you put your mind to it. And I don't want to be too defeatist about it, but that's a little bit like, yeah, but when what happens to that person that was told you can do whatever you want when they realise that actual tangible reality is tangible reality? When they realise that it's not really a thing, is it?
There's a philosopher called Alain de Botton who talks about this. He talks about meritocracy, which is the idea that if you work hard enough, you can do anything. And he basically says it's bullshit because it assumes that everyone's starting on the same platform, at the same amount of everything, love from their family, privilege, skin colour, all that stuff, and it's actually impossible for someone who's born in the same position as Trump than someone who's born in like a buttfuck town in America who's like the wrong colour.
And then to suggest that they didn't try hard enough.
Yeah, like with the quadriplegic, it's not because he didn't try hard enough, you've not failed, and it gives people a sense of failure when they don't achieve their dreams.
Precisely, that's my concern.
Yeah.
I think it's terribly worrying. Just interesting, I'm a fan of De Botton, I think he's fantastic.
I love him, yes.
Don't you think that you couldn't paint a better picture of what a modern
philosopher would look like?
Nah, I was going to go Norman Lord.
Oh my god, yes, he's such a Norman!
Effect, French name, but very nice and very lovely about it at the same
He's
time.
so quiet, but
Yeah.
he'll kick your fucking ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll just draw a sword out and just like philosophically cut you up.
Yeah, and everything I listen to him is just like, I kept expecting just at the end of what he's saying, by the way, I just bought your family. What? Oh god. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll have things like, well, if you feel depressed and you think you're going to die, you probably will.
Yeah. I just love it that he's the ultimate arbiter of doom. He's just biding his time until he goes, by the way, we're all going to die, aren't we? Okay, thanks, Alan.
Yeah, his YouTube video on Mondays is like, you will be lonely forever. You're alone in the universe. That's fine. That's Alain de Botton.
He's a good fellow.
Oh, I love him. He has a series on YouTube about architecture, and why modern architecture sucks, and it's great. Well, in the UK, he goes to like new build estates in the UK and talks to like these gammon new build lords, and he's just like, so tell me about these houses. They're like, oh, it's just a traditional house, and he's like, but why? Why have you done this? And he'll just go in the house and talk shit about these houses. It's amazing.
Have you ever watched much Jonathan Meades?
No.
If you like De Botton's approach about architecture like that, Meades is something of a, well, I mean, he doesn't call himself a philosopher, but I would definitely say that he is. Cynical as hell, utterly hilarious, but started off as an architectural journalist.
Amazing.
So, yeah, but that's a whole different thing. There we go.
Yeah.
Right.
We've talked about architecture and philosophers now, so let's go to the book card.
Right, here we go.
Architecture.
Right. Oh, yeah, well done. Why is it that I know, is the tower, yeah, that is quite a prominent, or I don't know, I've just come across it a lot.
Well, it's one of, I think, the more difficult cards that people think of when they think of the tower, because it's like a weird, mysterious card.
Okay.
There's no door to the tower, and it means lots of different things. Yeah, mind-blowing, huh?
Interesting. Right, okay.
I shall read the tower.
Where are the people who built it?
Probably in the hill. A castle stands on a hillside without a moat or a visible door. Proud, stern, and unyielding, the symbol represents achievement gained in the face of adversity and reflects sometimes the arrogant conscious mind, repressing the unconscious mind beneath it. It can often presage the pride that goes before a fall. It can also stand for male sexuality.
Interesting. And it's not inverted. From what everything means and reflects and everything else, I suffer from, or is which way you want to put it, either I am a narcissist or I suffer from narcissistic personality disorder. Best word to have your voice break on, by the way. Narcissistic. Did I look sexy when I said it? So the tower and all this phallic brilliance is certainly relevant, but interesting about the point of arrogance crushing potential. I for the longest while, I've been a considerable sort of proponent of saying that a little bit of self-belief goes a long way. I've yet to meet a front person of a band or an act, a musical act, whatever it will be, who doesn't have some element of ego or extended narcissism in a way, and I don't have a problem with that. Of course I wouldn't. I'm a narcissist, but I think that it is a terribly boring thing to watch someone who doesn't want to be on stage. And I don't mean in the kind of fascinating, interesting Jim Morrison facing the wrong way element. I mean, I've gigged with bands where you could tell that singer is not going to be the singer for much longer.
Yeah.
My name's Chris, and sorry. Oh, bollocks. And it's not like suddenly the song starts like, ah! But it's more that like the whole performance is like that.
Yeah.
And of course, for me, looking for excuses to justify narcissism, I do feel that it's a terribly boring show to watch if someone hasn't considered themselves in that position prior to being in it. Projection, an egotistical projection, is, at least in my opinion, one of the absolutely vital precursors to a story being an interesting story to be told rather than read.
Do you see a story as a performance?
Yeah, absolutely, concretely. It's a huge subject, but one that I've been definitely, weirdly enough, wrestling with quite a lot this week. Andrew Garfield, who, if you remember, was in the Spider-Man movies that was
Oh, he was the second one, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was the son of the Green Goblin. I've already lost on, I don't know my lore of comics very well, but I think he plays the son of Willem Dafoe and then becomes the, well, I think that's it. Yeah, anyway, he's English. I didn't even realise this.
Yeah.
Right. Watched a few interviews with him. Fucking fascinating. What a dude. Absolutely brilliant. No ego in him seemingly whatsoever. But comes out with this idea that's like, oh fuck, about the fact that the story is God, not the person performing it. And he's a great opponent of overwhelming celebrity culture. But he's sort of like, why am I being celebrated? I've merely been telling it. But it's like, that's a really interesting angle. But I can't help but think that let's boil this down to a really completely anachronistic concept of, if we're all involved in creative arts, it's all about the fireside story. And it's like, yeah, when Ugg, your dad, is a good storyteller in the cave, but then it turns out that Grug from over the other cave does it with sticks. You're going to go and watch the dude that does it with sticks because it's just more interesting. Ugg's lovely, good originator, but Grug's got these 2 sticks and it's wow. So I think every technological advance that you do, and every time that as tech advances of providing new ways of telling stories, the person that's seeing themselves in that position can plot themselves beyond it. And because of that egotistical drive, it means stories have been getting better and better and better and better.
I think there was a time where that ego was replaced by the divine, because you've got like the classical period where people would attribute all art to gods. So you've got like the notion of the genius where all, like the Iliad, you've got like even, I think Virgil might have done it, where they were like, oh, this isn't me, it's all God, I've got to be cool about this, otherwise I'm going to get fucked up. Because in like, pretty much most of the myths and legends, if you like, the one with the Arachne, she says she's the best weaver, and she weaves even better than Hera, and Hera's like, fuck off, turns her into a spider. Because she didn't attribute her art to the gods, and being as like an inherited gift that she's merely channeling at that point in time.
It becomes the ancient Greek sort of model of that presents a lot of really intriguing arguments to them, because of the fact that the gods being the originators of the humans made to worship them, which is echoed throughout all even polytheistic to monotheistic constructs.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's always this counter argument that comes up, and it's not just the modern bent for sort of atheism, God's dead, everything like that. It's by no means modern, as everyone would know, but like there's always been this counter argument. It's like without us you're nothing, coming both ways. I was thinking only this morning about the whole business in relation to the story of God, that we in the West have gone through several hundreds of years where if you as a performer performed anything that wasn't in some way divinely related in celebration of God,
that fucking ruined it.
You'd be done. Yeah. But it's fascinating to see that rather than a divisive step of revolution in artistry, it was that people gradually started incorporating things that the everyman story became canon. And don't worry, so we've got God in it. and we're still like, oh, you're so terribly big, you know, and all that stuff like that. And that was, you know, permitted and became part of the storylines.
I think a lot of that came in with like Goethe and the Sorrows of Young Werther, where he's like, I'm a depressed man, I'm going to kill myself because I'm in love. I think that was one of the first, stories where it's like an individualistic, not one of the first, but it was like one of the first novels that were like about depression and suicide and melancholia and love. This kind of like exploration of this definitely narcissistic man that was Goethe. Like being in love with a woman who didn't care about him or know who he was.
Well, yeah. Which is a completely fruitless love. It's just like, but and then like hop, skip and a jump, Kafka. Oh no. It is something I just find particularly intriguing. That, you know, like for instance, like you've got the Civil War in England. You've got Puritans rather than Protestants going, this is fucking it. We're doing it now, and they ban theatres. Because that's ungodly, and they're rogues and vagabonds, and they're expelled from the city, and blah blah blah. And after a long enough time, you started literally getting like underground, you know. Whereas you've had the principle of like, oh, Catholics are banned, and we're going to burn all Catholics if you're Protestant, blah blah blah. But then you had like Catholics literally going underground, being like, oh, I can't, like, I'm not saying that's it. That's fascinating, but in the Civil War, long enough into Cromwell's reign, that there were underground performance covens. Just like, to be or not to be. Was it deliciously horrible? You know? What would Cromwell say? You know, that is the question. But so sort of, I'm always intrigued to see where art pushes this. I mean, now, for instance, it's like I think it's reflected in stuff like this raining down on the sex industries and stuff like that, where you've got the sort of Think of the Children's Squad, who are saying that all outlets of pornography are promoting child trafficking, everything like that. You know, there's legislation being pushed that's going to follow the Nordic system of like, it's been passed. Sorry, not passed. It's been run through Parliament. It's passed one house already.
I know that you couldn't have spanking in porn.
No. It's now going to be like they are going to recriminalise selling sex.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and this is the Nordic system because Sweden adopted it so very, 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 very hard. And if you want an example of the Nordic model, go and look at where it's extant and the amount of dangers that sex workers have been put under because they've been forced underground.
Yeah.
Totally terrifying. So, in a slightly rose-tinted view, I can't help but think that, you know, you try and inflict restriction on something through which has come out of, you know, Pandora's box, it's going to be like, and it'll go somewhere else and wait until it's legally going to come back out. Or find a new reroute, like when Terminator gets crushed in the
I'll find a way.
Yeah, it really does, you know. Wow, it's a long-winded way to go around. So it's this tower, yeah?
I have a funny feeling gigs might be the same. I think it's going to get to a point where if there's going to be that many restrictions on the arts, it's going to get to a point where people are just going to take things into their own hands.
Definitely, and I can't help but think that that's that there are a lot of people who are wanting to sort of, they're paying for gigs anyway.
Yeah.
And the odd gig has been happening here and there. You know, the Atrocity exhibit recently did one in the pub, and I was so pleased to see that because they're so fucking brilliant. But the new norm that's supposed to be isn't going to be a norm. It's not. I would hesitant to say it, but I really think it will almost be unrecognisable in the way that we're going to be gigging again.
Yeah.
But out of this will come something new. I'm going. You know, that's an optimistic view. Okay, and I feel positive about that. Where I will answer it with my ingrained pessimism is that this is sad to say it, but I think in our, let's say, average or collected generation, I have a feeling that it will be the next generation that are going to find and run with as standard whatever will replace it.
Yeah.
By that I mean tangible sales from the sales of art itself.
Yeah.
Okay. Gigging, and including theatre, cinema, even consumption of that, the media in that you know, too many industries now are just clutching at straws. We have to find some source of revenue. And there's the public going, I don't know, it's just free. Why would you not? I got levelled off really successfully by my ex-flatmate about that whole pirating thing. Because I'm still riled about it. Like, why is it unreasonable for me to ask for a little bit of compensation for what I've made?
Yeah.
But his point was completely, it's just like, please look at first of all human nature. And he made the analogy of, you're sat in your nice comfortable flat, and someone from just outside opens up the window that's next to you, goes, you know that meal you just ordered from Uber Eats, Just Eat, or whatever, it's going to be delivered, and it cost you like 35 quid. Listen, mate, I'm just cooked you a nice Chinese meal. I'm just going to leave it just underneath this window here. I'm not saying you have to do it, but you can if you want it.
Yeah.
Why would you not?
Yeah.
Like, cancel the fucking Uber Eats thing. It's right here.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like and asking people to be like, you dreadful person, how can you steal my art and everything like that. It's like, yes, but if you were in that position and it's the choice of do you want to spend £8 or not spend £8, you can still get it. Most people, understandably, are like, I've got bills to pay. I know you have as well, but
I'd kind of flattered if someone stole my art.
I'm
I
still
mean, it depends where I'm at. But I'd be.
Yeah, no, that's right. Because also, I'm just thinking about that. Sorry to cut you off. It's just like that's a really poignant thing.
Yeah.
I was warned about similar that if in any, let's say, on record
Yeah.
principle, be it an interview or anything like that.
Did this out.
Yeah, no, quite.
Okay.
No, but this is what's so important about it. You could, if you were so inclined, quote a creator and going like, oh, yeah, I'd be kind of flattered if that. Right, that's it. Free reign, guys. She doesn't mind.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And yeah.
You can be like, I'd be flattered, but please do like actually support us if you like it.
Yeah.
You know, if someone was like, I'll check them out, I'll torrent it or whatever. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean,
This is what I would do when I was younger because I was poor,
right. So right. So someone said to me, otherwise, so you didn't have LimeWire.
Yeah. Everyone
It was
had
research.
Exactly. Pirating is research.
I'm just seeing the field. You know, fuck off, you know, I'm just getting free shit. Everyone wants free shit. It's fine. But I think that someone said to me, like, you know, when I was back, I usually do a fair few DMCA takedown notices, and I unashamedly do that.
I'll do it on YouTube sometimes
Right.
because they're getting money from your art, and that's different.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
If they're monetizing it, and
Fuck.
you've
Oh,
not
yeah.
seen a fucking
Yeah.
penny, then no.
Mhm.
But I've done a load of that, and people have been saying to me like, well, okay, do you want it heard or not? So they think you're not that big. Come on, man, you're not.
I think it
talented."
depends.
Yeah.
But if it's like 10 YouTube channels, which is what we had, like what we did is we were like, there's a really big YouTube channel. It releases albums in this genre. We sent them our video,
Mhm.
and they put it up. It got 30,000 views.
Mhm.
And then like loads of other ones started doing it. We're like, well, you can't do that. Like we didn't give it to
But
you.
you've drawn this imaginary line. And
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It is.
Because you know, issue du jour, but that it's consent effectively.
It is
comes down
consent.
to.
If you ask, if you approach us, you're like, we like it, I want to share it,
Yeah.
that's fine. We'll happily, you can do what you want
Yeah.
if you ask. But if it's like, yeah, it's consent. If someone's just taking your stuff and then just
Yeah.
making money out of it, they can like, yeah.
Well, okay. I mean, here am I now as saying with the cross-discipline thing that I'm just going to bring you back up. You know, go back into film, and I'm really enjoying it, and it's great. But I'm aware that we're gearing up to shoot our first short next year at some point. We're applying for funding, blah blah blah. So I've suddenly, now that I had this sort of angle of like, oh, what does it mean about free access to art and everything like that? One of my points on it was like, well, you know, I said to my business partner that be aware that up and coming filmmakers are putting up their pieces, their independent pieces, specifically on Solar Movie, Putlocker, any sort as a distribution model.
Interesting.
They're hoping, and they'll design, you know, because I mean, if you're wise about it, you'll have a cover for your piece that looks like, that will apply to that market, a horror market or something like that.
Yeah.
A cover that applies to the drama and thriller, but there are some people designing their covers for their pieces that they're hoping will be lumped in. It's like you want to, I don't know, watch the new Fast and Furious 42 or something, you know, that or what number they're at now, and your movie happens to have a car in it. So you put it up to Putlocker and make it look suspiciously like the Fast and Furious cover, and it's like, bang, they're watching it.
Catfishing, basically.
Yes, and it means even if they've watched a few minutes of it, if it's good enough, they'll continue more. But if not, they've at least seen it and gone, what the fuck was this
You're
shit?
tricking people into watching your
And using piracy, you see.
That's so clever.
It's an intriguing thing, but it's clever up to a point.
Yeah,
for
it's kind of
distribution, yeah,
sneaky.
not for income.
Yeah.
And if you've got funding for your piece,
Mm.
then you've been like, don't worry, that's loads of people are saying we've got it up on Potluck. I'm like, I paid for this movie. You know, kind of. So it's when money comes in. So,
Yeah, I think it depends on. I think it depends how big you are, how much you want to make. If you like breaking even, like, the in-kind models. I think for film, I don't know much about how to make money from film. I know for like...
Nor does anyone.
I don't understand. Like, they're so expensive, and cinemas don't work anymore. Like, how do you... Like...
There's something that's worth considering, that if you go onto IMDb, or IMDb Pro more, but you can still access it, you can see box office returns, it is folly to look at box office returns and say this film is successful based on its theatrical income on the point of release, because of the fact that, like, the simplest point of putting it is, were the last 3 Star Wars movies, the main ones, right?
Yeah.
Were they successful? I mean, I would say yes. Yeah.
Critically, maybe not.
Sure, critically. I mean, it's split opinions, but for the most part,
They've done well in the box office, right?
well, the reason critically it may not be that popular, it means that people have seen it turn a bit positive, right? So that's good exposure, okay? The demon word exposure. But if you look at the box office returns for say the first week, I mean, it's a Star Wars movie, you'd expect a bit more. That is not their sole income.
Yeah, merchandise.
Big tentpole movies and projects such as that are made to sell toys. Right? Their catchment is far, far broad. The cinema, frankly, is like a subsidiary part, at least secondary, to relaunching a line of well, no, Mattel don't have them anymore. I forget who it is that have that rights to it. But basically, like, it is designed so that you buy tertiary product. Everyone's like, well, one of the good things about the Mandalorian is that they're not shoving it down our throats. Really? How many Baby Yoda models are going to be given to people this Christmas?
Yep.
I've seen t-shirts, knockoff t-shirts, dude. That's money.
I've seen Baby Yoda fleshlights.
What?
I've got one.
I don't think they're licensed ones, but...
Can you fuck the eye? Because they're just black cavernous holes.
Comes out the outside.
Use the force I have!
Is it true that Harrison, this is what I heard, I don't know if it's true, Harrison Ford, one of his main conditions for agreeing to be part of the Star Wars, even the original films, was that he got a percentage of any merchandise, any subsequent merchandise.
Clever man.
And at the time, I think George Lucas was like, yeah, that's all right. I mean, if they didn't realise that merchandise would be something that would be so marketable and so, stratospherically popular. But
it's like kids don't even know how much merch they have.
Yeah.
They've got so much merch.
If it's known commodity, I mean, the thing is, as the flip side of that, just to highlight the slightly more depressing side of things, my late grandfather, we were sat down in Kent, where we're from, and this thing arrives, and my grandfather opens it, it's like, oh yes, that fucking thing. Okay. It's like, well, what's that? And it's like, it's a great big box set thing. The Donald Sinden collection. Who did this? I have no idea. Well, hang on a minute. Grandpa, are you getting anything for this? No. So we looked it up, and it's like 28 quid to buy it, everything like that. And he didn't see a penny from it. Someone sent it to him, was like, you might want to see this. Didn't get a penny from it, because at the time of all those early films that were making on the Rank organisation and everything like that, the TV was a possible consideration. The concept of a repeat fee for anything, subsidiary sales, merch, whatever you have, no. People, it's a single-use product, man. People are going to go to the cinema, they'll see it, and that's it, consigned to the archives, like everything else before it. But they never signed into any of these contracts that any of the performers or any of the filmmakers would ever receive a single penny from it, because there wasn't a contract in it that stipulates repeat fee, net or gross. But someone I used to work with said, counter that, so just because there wasn't a clause in it doesn't mean it doesn't apply.
Yeah.
We never got to the bottom of it.
Legally, it must be an absolute.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a cauldron, a bubbling cauldron of hatred. It really is. Yeah. So, well, right.
Right, next card.
I'm assuming that one.
You're correct.
Oh, right, okay.
You're correct.
Unending sex. The Voyage. Same thing. Ocean of the ocean and everything like that, right?
Alright, that is number 35. Get to the right place.
This is like fate bingo. Talk about Lady 66, oh, number 8, you're gonna die.
Still alive. Not died of COVID yet. 35. Anyway. Coming alive. ancient map, a galleon sails the ocean on a voyage of discovery. A card of movements and foreign connections. The likelihood of travel or a journey is suggested by this card. It could point to a holiday, or where new aspects of yourself will be found, or another voyage across your inner world to uncolonized areas of the psyche.
I'm going to colonise your psyche.
That's very British of you.
Oh, I love I've got plans. Yeah, that's intriguing. I don't drive, and I'm secretly convinced that I am a completely appalling driver and probably saving humanity by not having a driving license. At least that's my
It's the
excuse.
same boat, yeah.
Right. I was driving. I was getting lessons when I was like 16, 17 sort of thing. And bullshit, arrogant me, I had like a number of lessons and the guy was like, you might get there at some point. And the girlfriend I was going out with at the time was expressed a mild interest. She probably just blinked near a picture of an MG. I was like, that means we're gonna, what, that? And I was going to go and buy an MG Midget, pre-84 edition, and like, it was a beautiful car. I thought, well, hang on, one of the things I'm going to need is a fucking driving license. So I went and took my test, and I told the guy that was teaching me, he's just like, you're not ready. Impossible is nothing! Completely failed. And, you know, fragile ego of us at this 16.
Fragile ego.
If I please have a chip, please. I have an ego to feed. Yeah, my fragile little ego was like, no, nonsense, I can do this. And then was told, like, expressly, you are crushing me shit at doing this. So I was like, never again! And like, so I'm just aware that at some point, you know, my wife and I and a very close friend, Jace, we're going to like move out of London. And of course, you know, you move anywhere outside the green belt, it's like, can I catch a lift to humanity? Because I need some milk. It's like, no, none of us drive, so yeah, that's going to be terribly important. In terms of actual voyages,
You're moving outside of London.
well, yes, that's a very fine point. Yeah,
Where are you
actually.
going?
Well, I don't know. I mean, both my wife and I would love to move back to Kent because that's where family and friends are. But the idyll that we've set up with our friend Jason is to buy some fucking huge place in the middle of nowhere that is a sort of multimedia studio.
Oh, I literally had this
build a
thought.
gym into it.
Yeah,
all
that'd
that
be
business.
awesome.
Yeah, it'd be so cool. Do you know what? We saw one place in Wales, and this train station kind of goes, stops there, and then there's a hotel, and it was like 250 grand. Like, what's wrong with it? Yeah. And it's not that there's something expressly wrong with it. It's that the town isn't what it used to be, you know, for whatever reason, and the hotel just couldn't keep up. But it's an 11-bedroom construct, and yeah, you need, right, if you're going to get that, you either run it as a business or you don't get it.
It's an 11-venue music festival.
Right. Well, I had this idea. It's an 11-bedroom thing. You're going to have RSJ's structural points, okay, but you could knock through some middle rooms to make it even bigger.
Yeah.
Keep the structures, that's fine. Pillar's great. You can wrap ivy around it and win it, you know. But not. You can't go. You know, you go. I mean, but yeah. So it's just knock through like some central rooms, and you could either make a recording studio or a film thing or whatever. But that would be enormously cool. But it turns out that, you know, speaking to people who've owned, you know, houses that have many rooms, it's this painting of the Fourth Bridge. You're constantly, you're trying to keep one bit from not being damp, and it's not just like, oh, I've dusted it, it's fine. It's like, no, literally, the back room's going to fall off. Yeah. Because you kept it damp for 2 weeks in winter, and now it's set in, and you're fucked.
And the neighbours will complain.
Well,
all the sounds of the women being wrapped around the pillars.
Yeah, and God knows they're loud. That's just the pillars. You know? Yeah, that would be cool. But unfortunately, it's one of these pipe dreams that's suddenly become more and more realistic now that, you know, COVID has had its wicked way with us, and sort of thinking, actually, shit, you know, it's going to become untenable to be in London much more.
Yeah.
But I know that the minute we move out of London, we'll be like, man, I was a self-employed filmmaker in London.
So romantic, the idea of being the poor, like well, I don't know if you have money, of being like an artisanal figure in the middle of this city that has like a historically romantic relationship with artists.
Yeah.
But you'll be.
And also very poor.
Yes, definitely.
It
cool.
breaks as well, mate. So I think this here city.
It's a crushing boot.
God, yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Right.
Just looking at Floyd to be sure. Okay, let me just do some counting. This is a bit. What did I do? It's the cameraman.
No, it's just the way Floyd put his hand in his pocket. He just put it out.
All the
Just watching up corpses in his
I
pocket.
don't know, I was just thinking what you did, it was so Floydian. It was hilarious.
I've got some more ideas for later.
The tiniest little thing. It was just like, you put your hand in and then you're like, oh no.
I was thinking that as well when I put it in, because I was like, fuck, I've got a shit.
I saw the process go through your head.
I know they're Jakeman's rappers as well.
They're
so
definitely- It's too familiar a sound.
I accidentally got you addicted again, I'm so sorry.
No. I'm clear, I've got this, I was ill earlier in the week, and I promised myself last year that I would never have these particular brand of
Don't mind me, I just.
and the other day Neil was like, I've got some Jackmans, and I was so apprehensive because I was thinking, oh no, this is
The way you were like scared of it. I just held it.
I was like,
Oh.
this is a slippery slope.
Oh dear, your descent into absolute addiction mania. I'm not eating them for the sweets anymore, it's just the wrappers.
I will see the lighthouse, but I can imagine if you were in the lighthouse, the Jakeman's would be a point of contention. Like a black and white fight, like Jakeman's rappers.
You just like me, Jakeman's. Right.
Yeah.
Where am I next? So you're saying that one?
This one,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's have a look here.
Whoa, holy shit.
Wow!
You
Has
got-
there been anyone yet that's been this baleful?
Well, someone did put death in the middle once, so
Oh,
that was
right,
their
okay.
first card.
It's just like cancer, Donald Trump, you know?
Yeah, death.
It's not even inverted!
No,
Fuck!
you've got sick, deathly skills. You've got murderous skills.
Well sick death.
You are sick. Number 16.
Right.
Let me read death. I mean, everyone's gonna do. Everyone's gonna die.
What's your name? Oh no!
Let's try
Now
to
you
sound
tell me!
like consoling.
It's like your constellation. Don't worry, everyone's going to die. What now? Oh, hang on. Do I need to phone someone? Misery.
Save the day. Say something soothing.
Life is pointless. Yay!
So, on that note, number 16.
Jakeman's sweets are pretty soothing.
Yeah. We're all going to die, but don't worry. We've got Jakeman's.
Jakeman's in here. This is actually a very long Jakeman's advert. Hi, Jakeman's today.
First advertising to the next degree. The man gradually realises his horrible fate. Eat Jakeman's.
Do you want to die? Don't eat Jakeman's.
Yeah. Oh dear.
It's the most meta advertising. Whew, okay, I'm pretty hot. This is a really useful card. So, a doorway leads into a mysterious burial chamber, a skull-shaped hill. Flowers lead the path to the portal, but the mood of the card is somber. Death is the natural end of life, and the card symbolizes finality. The tomb brings reminders of resting places of the great heroes of mythology, and carries with it an implication of the possibility of rebirth. Like moving to the country, perhaps?
Oh, thank God, I just don't want to get squeezed out of that again. That was odd the first time. I'm actually going to go literal with it.
Okay, go.
My relationship with death over the last, few years has
been
been
pretty bad.
fascinating. Well, yeah, bad, but I'm bad in the sense of like the figures are bad. You know?
Yeah.
In terms of sheer numbers. Lost a lot of people over the last few years. It's bonkers for different things as well. But in trying to sort of garner some sense of positivity from it, it has been a hell of a teaching process. To be somewhat morbid about it, purely on the basis of the different types of deaths that I've suddenly experience of life. I've had a number of friends over the last year, I guess, take their own lives. People died of natural causes, some hideously unnatural causes. But I think it's, people have different pointers within things like, shit, are we getting old? Like, are kids getting more annoying? No, you're just becoming more cantankerous. Why are all my friends dying? Is one of the things. And now I think, being 40, as I am this year, that there are like increasing number of friends that I went to school with that are like, they're losing a parent or something like that. It's like, shit, no, and I had this moment of going, yeah, man, I do remember my dad's 40th birthday to the point where I did a calligraphy thing for it. So I was old enough to tangibly remember that birthday party,
Yeah.
And I'm now that age. So it's like, yeah, that's just kind of what's happening now. But I find myself doing that awful thing of making jokes about how old I am. It's like, don't be that guy. Because it's like, you combine that with narcissism, and it's like, don't worry, I'm the only one that can make the joke about it. You can't go, yeah, you are really fucking old, dude. Like, I've got grey in my beard. Don't tell me about grey in my beard. Well, why did you mention it? It's that kind of thing of it. So yes, hurtling towards death, but in my own completely unique way, because it won't happen to me. No, my wife is convinced that how could she possibly die? I think it's a great way of looking. I've been fascinated by this. That, like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm immortal until proven otherwise.
Have you had any close calls?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. Concretely, yes. No, I mean also being convinced of certain medical conditions that I've got now. I just feel like I probably don't. The thing I don't want to check in case it's true.
Yeah.
It's like, that's such a stupid mentality. Because like if we were living in, let's say, the 1600s, where you don't want to check because if you do find out you're dead, you're going to die. That's just what's going to happen. Whereas now that we face a chance for medical science being so advanced that if you do go and check things out, there is a strong possibility you can treat it and prolong it. That's fine. But I think people are still, nevertheless, totally terrified of doctors. I know I am.
They're a bit shit sometimes too.
Yeah.
As we were discussing.
Not as bad as hairdressers and dentists, but yes.
Yeah,
Hairdressers and dentists must never be trusted.
Dentists at the top of my list.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Dental hygienists are the psychopaths of medicine.
Yeah, the weirdest quote ever. I just love the quote in itself. That the last time I went to go see a dentist, Dr. Manassian on Finchley Road, if you find him, please shoot him. I'm being drilled into, which is not a great opening gambit. Hey, how you doing? How are we going on holiday this week? But I'm being drilled into, and I was like fairly young. I was like, ow. He's like, oh, like, for a start, like,
right.
Okay. And I was like, no, actually, so I backed away from the drill and be like, actually, no, ow. It's not like don't stop, but your nurse there's got a needle that makes it fucking not hurt so much.
Exactly.
And the dude turns to me and goes, that didn't hurt.
Oh, fuck off.
Get out.
I think you'll find, I'll tell you what it
I'm
hurts.
judged. Thank you.
Wow, this guy's a freaking omniscient being.
Completely weird.
Yeah.
Like, to the tenacity to suggest that he knows that it doesn't hurt me. And it's like, I respect that he's a professional and he comes under, a lot of people come under his needle, but that sounds so wrong. He uses his needle on a lot of people. I just can't get away from it. Oh no! What have we done? Dentist, the ultimate fetishist. God, they're just perverts and liars. And hot. Bring that nurse over here. She's going to stab me with a pointy thing. But yeah, it's just the fact that he was just like, I respect that he can see a lot of people in their reactions. So maybe, again, going back to the British thing of like, don't worry, it's fine, ow, that kind of thing. I was probably being polite about it, going, that actually rather hurt. Sure it didn't. You're not screaming yet. I am inside. That kind of thing. So yeah, hairdressers, don't worry, I'll only cut a small bit off. No. Estate agents who, as Fry and Laurie said, there's only one thing in life that's worse than an estate agent, but thankfully it's me, Lance, strange and surgically dressed. Dreadful people. Yes, they are. Death. Estate agents. Death to estate agents!
Dentistry, death to dentistry.
Yeah.
Let's start this take with sorry.
Sorry.
And
Sorry.
that, ladies and gentlemen, is the cure for cancer.
Sorry for tuning in.
Sorry.
You're watching me. Sorry.
Sorry everyone. It's a very British podcast. We just apologise to you for 3 hours. Psycard. Fortune!
Okay. Right. God, this is such a money-centric set
Money,
of cards.
fortune, but you've also got never thrown in there as well.
Sorry. Every time that gets turned over, I always misread it as torture.
People have done it
Yeah,
too.
good actually, couldn't it?
It does legit look like torture.
It does, doesn't it?
Well,
Wow.
fortune can be, torture is a form of fortune. So, but you know, it could also mean you never die, or never get tortured.
You never die. Constant torture.
The torture of eternal life and riches. Okay, a seeker, lantern in hand, is shown ascending a winding staircase leading up to a garret where a treasure chest is waiting. The card signifies the quest ending in fulfillment. It stands for success achieved by good luck, persistence, and an increase in wealth. So that's no fulfillment, but this is fulfillment. So this is, maybe now you'll know fulfillment, but future, maybe you will have fulfillment.
Super interesting, isn't it? Because there's so many. It's whether you think it's sort of a cop out or not, but there are a lot of people that are sort of, you know, that awful kind of live, laugh, love nonsense, those
yes.
tropes, and they're doing it over every Karen wall. But there was someone that was suggesting that it's not necessarily, the fortune is not the material wealth at the end of it, it's the process you went through to get to it. Now, obviously, that is, to some, a nice way of saying you lost. You know? But others, certainly, I mean, I have been enriched definitely by, by the process of everything that I've been doing in chasing the end result. And yes, absolutely, as a horizon point, that pinnacle point just keeps getting further and further away. Like the kind of the mythical coin in the back of the sofa that every time you dig deeper it gets further.
Yeah.
You know, eureka moments and whatnot. But certainly in recent procedures I've sort of learned the thing of keeping my cool, which is totally new to me. I'm 40 years old and suddenly realising, dude, we can see when you're stressed. And if you're a director, I've been the front man of a band for God knows how long, and de facto manager, everything like that. You get used to that process and workflow and what you do. I thought I held it together pretty well as a leader. There's a difference between leading and making sure that the people you are leading are comfortable and relaxed about what it is you're doing. And on the film set, when I, the first time actually really officially as a director, and which was doing this, the first My Dark Bride video we did for them, which was 2 Out of the Gods, it all went to shit in part of the production process. We saved it, but when it was going to shit, I was just scowling, terrible goblin in the corner. And there's me thinking, no, I'm permitted this reaction because it's going to shit. Isn't anyone else annoyed? Surely everyone else feels the same way. So, yeah, they do. But you're the director, dude. You're like, this comes down to you. The way you feel and the way you act is going to dominate how others receive it and how they in turn act out it. And at the moment, the person that's keeping their cool the most is your business partner, who's facing even more because it's his data system that's fucking up, or I'm just trying to preside all over it. Instead, I was just faffing all over it with anger.
Yeah.
And so now it's the thing of having to. I thought I had a handle on being objective over situations. No, you were just capable of, in retrospect, being objective over it. At the very moment where everything, and it will go to shit all the fucking time. Guaranteed, whatever you're doing will not go as planned. Either that it goes down a route that you hadn't anticipated and you could see that as a negative, or your leading lady blows up, and everyone contracts stupidity. And so I was having these situations where it's like I was going to lose my cool any second. Slightly did at one point. It's like you just can't do that anymore. Like, not just that, oh, you're 40, you should have a handle on this shit. No, you're never too old to learn. But more that I was chasing, it's the end results, the end results got to work, everyone's going to pull it together. So it's got to look good. It's like, fuck how it looks, man. You have a team of, say, 6, 8 people who are really stressed out about the fact that you are not okay and you are not happy about how this is going. And it reflects totally in a cyclical element of like, this is going to reflect on you really, really badly because you're reflecting on them and they're thinking that they're doing a bad job. You can see the cascade of emotions from it. So over 2 video shoots where quite a large amount of tech stuff went wrong, and other things as well. In the 6 months between those 2, it was a process of going, you really need to put yourself in more situations where you basically flip your lid, but be like, come on, stop it. reason you're doing this is because it's like, but I wanted it to work. You know, kid gloves, sort of thing, and it's like, if I'd tried to say this to myself 10 years ago, it would be like, oh, you're trying to crush the artistic vision, or you're not allowing me, or I'm not allowing myself time to react, or anything like that. And whereas now it's like, you need to be more wise about this. Just because you're not blowing your lid doesn't mean that you're not somehow vital, you know, or really so into it that he so cares about it. So no, being angry isn't caring about something. I mean, ultimately it may be to you, but to the person who's watching, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude?
Yeah.
Why is he all red? You know. So yes, chasing fortune, but the process was absolutely more valuable because it has enabled me to do success by following amounts of productions and being like, yeah, I think I might be able to hold this one down. And that was crucial, really important.
I feel like you need that kind of shitstorm moment to really realise that there's kind of a beauty in losing control of things and things being outside of your control.
Yeah.
Because then you just get to a point where you're just like, well, the only thing I can do now is work with what I've been given.
Yes.
And just try and have a good time with it still.
Well, now it's interesting you say that because I definitely have that in the editing process.
Yeah.
I'm more collected, but then it's just me in my study. And I'll be like, oh fuck, and just, you know, hands in the air. But I don't have a kind of, it's because when people are around me, I get nervous that they're thinking I don't know what I'm doing. And there is nothing more that will advertise the fact that you don't know what you're doing than you losing your cool.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why hasn't it gone the way I planned? Like, were you that arrogant to think it would go the way you planned?
Yeah.
And it's not so much that I don't know where this is leading, more that why literally doesn't this fucking machine work?
Yeah.
Why now? Why now? It's like, actually, if you look at it, mate, you know, it fucks up all the time when you're at home and you're like, it's not working again. Go get coffee. Yeah. Just do the same again. And it's having to teach yourself and literally train yourself not to react to it. Because there are a load of people who are looking to you going, we do know what we're doing, don't we? Yeah? Cool. Yeah, and even it's like you're like, oh shit! Unfortunately, my problem was, I started off, I had a wonderful springboard of being able to go straight into making a fucking music video for My Darling Bride, like our hero. It's like, wow! Yeah. And on one side, that's like, what a thing to do. And then you get there and shit fucks up. You're like, I've just fucked up in front of the first singer I ever heard do death metal vocals.
Aaron's a great vocalist.
Amazing. And an incredible dude.
Yeah.
And there was stuff that my team, and ergo the buck stops at me, I fucked up, therefore. And I'm doing, yes, I toured with him, you know, and whatnot. But it was this thing of, I'm stood here, on location, going, I don't know, it's not working. And it's like this, you know, he's made however many videos. Just like, right. Thankfully, he's however many years down the line and has totally mastered the art of, I know it is, just leave it to you, you'll get it, don't worry. You know, but what a way to learn. In some ways I wish we hadn't started at that level.
Yeah.
You know, it should have been, we're going to do the dog and duck it, performance video, and it's sort of like, it all fucks up, doesn't matter. But yeah, so that happened. Yeah.
I will say, the videos, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
I think they're great. And one of them has an amazing comment, which was, finally, a My Dying Bride video where there's actually a dying bride.
I so appreciated that, and do you know the weirdest thing is, in all of my involvement for it, I read the comment and it's like, yeah, well done, I hadn't thought of that. What? How had I not thought of that? It's in the fucking name! Someone else I think had commented, or maybe they said to me, it's like, I guess she's dead then. Oh, I see. That was, there have been some, you know how you're not supposed to check the comments, there's always like, never check the comments, you never go full retard, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, of course I do. Yeah. And my defence for doing it is that we're a burgeoning company in this field at the moment in film and video, that I'm scouring the comments on a twice daily basis because I'm correcting shit where people are saying, oh, they probably did this. No, we didn't. Oh, it is a real woman. Shit, I am a real boy. You know, those stuff like that. You know, and actually, weirdly enough, in answering a lot of the comments, where people were like, what's this? Or where did they shoot this? Or I've you know, you can actually see the paper trail, well, the digital paper trail, where I've answered something, that person, lo and behold, has gone and subscribed to our channel.
Oh.
It does work. It means you have to sift through a lot of shit. Like there was one woman on Facebook, on the My Dying Bride page, who was just venomous about Ruby, who was in the second video.
Really?
Oh, like, why did they get some duck-pouting banana sucker?
Oh my
I've
god.
I've never heard that comment.
Oh my god!
That's-
Where did the banana sucker go? So, I read, first of all, why this duck-pouting banana sucker? Like, read it and went, wait, have I missed something? Went onto Ruby's page. Sucking any bananas? No bananas. Right. It's just something she's come up with. Okay, fine. Right, there we are. Duck pouting. Hey, I don't know, whatever. But this. Why did they get a duck pouting banana sucker? Why would Aaron even agree to this? They've really, like, you know, they've gone a step lower or something like that. Okay, so I read that and be like, me, that's come out of nowhere. Are you pissed off about it? So I went onto this woman's page, and the second post down. The first was a photo of her hiking up a mountain, cool, fine, whatever. The second one was this, like a live, laugh, love thing of be kind.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know...
They're always the worst, most angry people. Yeah.
Well, someone said it's never successful people that share the memes about you can do anything. But they, this woman had this thing, so I, you know, it's supposed to be like, don't feed the trolls, don't read the comments, whatever. But I thought, no, screw this, no, that's really out of order. So I sort of responded going, that's kind of rich from someone who has be kind. You know, it took us, out of interest, 3 months in the main production phase to make this video.
Yeah.
It took you just shy of 12 minutes to watch it.
Yeah.
And you've just dismissed it like that. Now, I'm not saying you have to like it, but that's a very strange comment to read after spending 11 minutes watching it. She took everything down.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's just sort of like, yeah, sometimes there is such a thing as firefighting and damage limitation, I think, in these situations where you do have to read the comments when you're at the level that we're at. Because I would love, you know, also I would say that there's a great amount of actors, musicians, everyone who will interview and say, oh, I never read the comments, or I never watch my own films. Bollocks. Yeah. The reason you're saying that is because you're concerned that if you say I do read the comments, then the trolls will be like, fucking cool, by the way, your kid's dead. Or something like that, something horrible.
Yeah.
You can see, that shit happens, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as they know, oh no, wait, this dude does! Ryan Gosling literally reads the comments. You're a wanker! You know? And it's sort of like, that's why. But, no, come on, no one's that zen. Maybe Tilda Swinton, because she's not human.
She is an alien,
Yeah.
like, dog goddess. Yeah.
It's weird.
In a cool way, I like dogs.
It's sort of Anubis in female flesh. It's
Yeah.
like,
She's like a non-anxious greyhound.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. She actually doesn't get the shakes on.
Yeah.
I can go terribly fast. Right! Okay.
You bring her on such a zoom.
Where's she going? This is a slow moving. Stop
That's
her.
in the script.
Funnily enough, speaking of Anubis, this is a strange segue, but I read one of the reviews of one of the albums online, and this dude kept comparing the bands to Septic Flesh, and it was about 50 times. I was like, you sure you just don't want to go and listen to Septic Flesh? But he's obsessed that the Wasp Keeper sounds like Septic
really?
Flesh, yeah. And I love Septic Flesh.
Oh no, I love them. I think they're
Yeah, I
great.
think they're great.
It had never occurred to me in that way. That's interesting. Maybe it's because there's, I suppose when you got into them, but I suppose there's little bits of keyboardy orchestral bits in it. Not full on Cradle, but like, yeah, maybe what people hear in your own material at times you're like, you know, I never really fucking thought of that.
Yeah.
And someone said one that, what was it? Oh god. Someone said something. I mean, I love Typo Negative. Okay, Pete Steele for various reasons was real hero.
Various reasons, yes.
Yeah, I loved it absolutely. And someone said, "Oh, like, so they like Typo Negative then?" Well, I've never tried to sound like him though.
It's probably because you just have clean singing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, I think it's that. Do people have these links? These cognitive links? It's like, well, it must be because that's what I relate to, so it must mean that they do. Yeah, it's very strange.
It's like there was a phase where anything that had melodic passages, whether it be vocals or guitars, was automatically similar to Opeth.
Yes.
And it was like,
If you have
Opeth were the only ones that have ever done it.
Yeah.
Not my Dying Bride, mind you.
No, precisely. And Opeth is a common one. If you have any prog, basically if you have songs longer than 4 minutes,
Yeah.
Automatically open.
you're Opeth. Yeah. Are you clean singing? Oh dear, no. You just want to grow a moustache, don't you? It's that kind of thing. And it's like, it's just true. In clean passages, it's like, they don't, Opeth don't own the rights on doing that, but they are definitely one of the most prominent bands that do it.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting that when, at least in my experience, when people have levelled that sort of almost accusation of like, oh, so you like Opeth then? It's like, have you ever listened to Camel? Like, what's Camel? Go and listen to Camel, come back to me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what, Opeth must like Camel? Yeah, they're basically Camel. Camel. Come on, everything. Yeah, but yeah, everyone's derivative. No. Which one? I'm going to assume.
Oh, sorry, no, I ruined it. I told you which one it was, but you can guess again if you like. Pretend.
Well, I'm going to guess it's that.
You were correct.
Marvelous. Now.
Ooh, now, never.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
Interesting.
And it's one of them isn't inverted, so yeah. All right. Okay.
Alright, so now is number 4. The picture shows a reaper cutting the ripe corn beneath the sun. It is a favourable time for action. The moment is ripe. The time has come to take in the harvest of that which you have sown. Which is literally, that's post-harvest.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. That's all linking together. That's
So
lovely.
technically speaking, he's harvesting silver.
Silver coin wheat.
Right. Okay. I'd eat that. I'd give it a bash just to see if it's better than gnocchi. Just to. I wonder if it is. It's an intriguing one because I have this 2-week, literally a fortnight principle that.
Not the game.
No. No. That's the fastest response I've ever given. No.
That was immaculate.
Do you want me sipping your coffee? No! Wasn't quicker than the fortnight point. So, every modelling engagement, acting engagement, and musical engagement I've ever done, I have this weird recurring fortnight principle of, I just need another 2 weeks, I'm not ready yet. I don't know what happens in this mythical 2 weeks that will mean that I'm ready. And it's not the case. I've tested this, it's not. This is something I think is related very much to my dysmorphia, which comes hand in hand with sort of narcissism and everything like that. That I proved to myself that it was extant in my system and understanding of literally reality. We were on tour in America for 6 weeks in my last band. Yeah.
Interlock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were going about, and at the time I was on it with training, and I got to the point where I hadn't necessarily bulked much, but I really got very lean.
Yeah.
And, which is tough for me to do. And we reached the point where we got to Alabama, and I hadn't trained in, or I should say, I hadn't done what I would identify as training for almost a week. And I was like, I can't go on stage tonight. I know, I can't do it. I'm not right, I'm fat or something, that kind of like just totally convinced. And my bassist, Cyan, she was really a good ear when it mattered, sort of thing. She kind of saw that I was really wigging out a bit in the bathroom. She's like, you're right, no, I'm not. Yeah, I don't feel ready, I need a 2-week thing. She's like, I tell you what, you brought skipping rope with you, didn't you? Yeah. Go outside, go and take your 30 minutes, 45 minutes to go and do some skipping. Like, that's not going to fix it, dude. She's like, just go and fucking do it. Went outside, spent 25 minutes, all the 25 minutes, because I'm shit at skipping. Fuck, that kind of thing. But nevertheless, just jumping up and down a bit. Came back in, went and had a shower, looked in the exact same mirror, right? And I saw a different body. Like, no. Well, let's be honest about this. Like, reality doesn't work like that, and bodies definitely don't. You cannot lose or gain, be more ripped after a 25-minute skipping thing that you fucked up mostly.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that the mental thing of it is like, and now it's terrifying for me. Like, all of these, there's a resounding line, a concurrent line that goes along with creativity, which people are like, the best time to start is now.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, yeah, no, we just need to get this second camera, or I just need to do another draft, or I just need to da-da-da-da-da. So what's the poet that's saying recently, like, no one ever finishes a poem, you just abandon it. Everything is a work in progress. So to say you will, as with bereavement, you will never get to a point. If you lose a family member or a loved one, you'll be like, I never said this, or I never picked up the phone. And it's like, fuck off, man. If you'd have done all those things, it's like, I didn't walk the dog. The dog's not dead. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like the now thing is like I've never in my life reached a point of being like, I'll do the gig nowadays. I'll make the film now. You know, no, it doesn't happen. It's just this mythical thing. You know, the short film that we're preparing, I'm very much aware. I actually pulled out of the BFI funding that we were going for the short film funding thing. Grant monies, you know, which is so valuable to the entire industry. I was preparing that, and I fucked out at the last minute. It was midday was the deadline, and it had been an open fund for quite some time, but I only got wind of it about 2 weeks before, and I was up at 5:30 on the morning of the deadline, and just going, I can't lose this 10k, I can't shift it anywhere because we're crucially over the budget, and so I just rage quit. I was just like, no, not happening.
Yeah.
And so I spoke to a load of people about it, and you know, most of the resounding feedback is like, dude, you'll never get a point of being completely ready. Don't worry about fucking out on this one. It means that the next application will be that much better. But next time you do it, you've got to allow yourself to submit it, rather than being what you think is finished. Your point of completion is this horizon thing that will keep going around the earth. You know, you don't reach the end.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I applied to the Arts Council, and it's a fucking pain in the arse.
Yeah.
And like the budgeting, I've never done it before. I did not understand how it worked for like a month.
Yeah.
I spent a month just like putting numbers into this spreadsheet and being like, it's still red. And then eventually it was green, and I was like, okay. And like that was the only bit of the application I had trouble with. Was like balancing was like understanding how that budget worked, like how you had to make the profit the same as your expenditure, and then just make money, do things here and there. It was really confusing.
You know, something that really worries me about some of those things is that there are times that it's deliberately obfuscation.
Honestly, I think they try and make it hard for artists on purpose, and I do feel there's an element of like you kind of have to ham up the whole like ethnicity thing, but then it still kind of works against your favor at the same time.
Yeah.
Like the response we got, I wasn't particularly. It was very interestingly. I mean, the guy had like a triple-barreled name, so I don't know if I was. Right. You know, I wasn't so convinced by the points that he put forward
Eric,
about
Hitler.
Eric K.
Hitler Stalin bastard.
That's exactly the guy. Yeah, no, I was a bit like, I'll just apply again to someone who's not like that responds, I guess.
In the absolute danger of creating something of a straw man.
Do go ahead.
Okay. Right, so grants are in place, as I understand this. I could be hideously wrong, but I used to work for the Sector Skills Council for the film industry, so you kind of you get used to sort of. You know, it's more that like I'm used to application procedures, and everything that's built up around it to support it. Some of it is deliberately obtuse, others is sort of anyway all this stuff, and so a grant is there that a grant would imply you are not beholden to make that money back or make good on your promise, or you make good on your promise by making the actual product.
Yeah.
But it's not contingent on sales. Okay. Film funding being different, yes, you do have to at least recoup, and if you don't, it's on your head financially. You know, so that's fine. So that's the distinction between the two. Grants are typically in place to be given to people who are otherwise marginalised and minorities who are underrepresented in the industry. Right. Okay. Cool. From personal experience, I am absolutely aware that certainly the way I sound, or the way that I would write an email or something like that. Thankfully, I mean, we're talking. This is literally this is first impression stuff, right?
Okay.
My name, Hal Sinden. Okay. It's not Tabitha Farquhar Meanly, where you'd be like, right, it's a silver ladle out the mouth, please, But to some, I've had some people say that because they don't know that Hal's an old English name, they'd be like, oh, the dude could be like Arabic, or I don't know, it's just whatever that name is, I don't know.
Hal Sinden.
Yeah, it's like, there you are, it's like, that's a giveaway, but, then I start talking, and they're like, right, you're applying for grant monies. Why not ask daddy, little boy? That kind of stuff. And you face that all the time. And I steadfastly refuse to pull back on the way I sound. But not that it's pride, it's just that I've tried it once. I tried changing how I sound. And it was so contrived, it was ridiculous. So with the grant monies and stuff like that, I absolutely understand. I'm applying for something which is there to bolster underrepresented minorities and marginalised peoples, and I am arguably, in terms of demographics, exactly what they're trying to get around and subvert. That apparently I am so bolstered by my background and everything like that I am absolutely entitled to everything. Now, in reality, that's not the case. If anything, in my experience of being at drama school, everything beyond, my familial background closes as many doors as it opens. Categorically. If a door is opened because of my, I don't know, either the way I seem or someone happens to know who my family were back in the day, anything like that. If they do, it's like, you've got a long way to prove yourself. Okay. So one of the things I find a little bit worrying about when people are not awarded the grant, not necessarily that they're declined, it's that they don't get it, is the way they react to it. You go onto YouTube now, you put in anything about like why the, I don't know, BFI fund is so bad, or why is Film 4 such a shit, and there's tons of very angry people going, oh, it's, we have this much money for the film industry, blah, 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 blah. It just that never ends, and it's like, right. Okay, fine. So that would indicate that certain people are just very not prepared for being declined of anything, okay, cool. But where they go away from that, and this is something, again, this is potentially building the straw man argument, the thing I'm concerned about. I have seen a few YouTube videos where someone has been declined grant monies, specifically in the UK, and where diversity is key. Equal opportunities must be filled out, and with, at its root, very, very admirable reasoning. But their reaction for being rejected then suddenly goes, but they're giving it to the body of people, or it's because they're...
Okay, and they compare themselves with like...
now,
they're like, they're not diverse enough.
Right, I'm going to say this now. I started monitoring it in myself a little bit, because there was a little bit in me going, I don't think I'm going to get this, and I think the reason I'm not going to get it is because I'm white, I'm evidently at least middle class. I have a family who are involved in the industry anyway, so therefore I should technically be asking them. But I'm also, what's your film about? Well, it's based in the 18th century, and there's only white people. Oh, bollocks. And it became, you see what I mean where I'm going? I was like, oh, dude, if you go any further with this line of reasoning, you're going to be like, well, it's because I'm not black, isn't it? Fuck off. But if someone didn't have that measure of self-awareness of just being like, I'm not saying I'm the most self-aware person in the world, but it's just more that like, people who are more predisposed to getting angry about being refused something would be like, it's because I'm white, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shit. One of the reasons why I believe that people like Trump inexplicably, seemingly, came into power is because he played the card beautifully of disenfranchised, lower middle class and working class white people. Going like, oh, you're so, you've all got these you're what's the beginning of the P? Privilege. You've got this privilege. Yeah, where's my privilege then? And all Trump needed to do is go, yeah, no, I understand what you feel, guys. Oh shit, you just weaponised an entire strata of society.
You made it into a finite resource. Yeah.
And you've literally gone, like, yeah, because you're poor, and just because you're white, like, oh no. Also, a lot of those people don't necessarily understand.
No one else would have went near that apparent demographic with a barge pole, which is why, it was...
And why they constantly feel disenfranchised.
Yeah.
And this is not to defend, I mean, right now, we have such brazen racism coming from over the Atlantic, which is like, flipping hell, you just said it on national TV about that, I just plain don't like black people, like, wow! Stuff. And like, in the last 4 years, we would never have seen that. Not that it didn't exist, it wasn't so brazen, right? And I just get worried about, to lead back to the Grant point about it, just say that that's where I think people regrettably did find their support for Trump, because they felt that they themselves were marginalised despite being the majority.
Yeah.
But in Grant stuff, I am very aware that the stuff that I really care about and I want to make films about is not target content for a grant specifically. And I registered in myself a little bit of a seed of like, I could get angry about this. Like, that's really dangerous, dude.
Like, you could have taken that so much further and got really uppity about, like, just because I'm not making kid upload. Thank fuck you're not. Chapwood. Well, it's frightfully difficult down here, you know. We're all in the gutter. You know. Yeah. Anyway, that was a bit of a.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think being a musician, you've got to deal with a lot of rejection, and it's bloody hard sometimes. Especially, like, I think for me, that's like the biggest rejection I've had to deal with so far. Like, so I was just like, I'm a bit angry. This feels weird because I've not felt that before. Like, we've had 1 or 2 bad reviews, and I was like, it's hilarious. But this was definitely one of those learning points for me. So it's interesting to hear about your own symmetrical experience with it, and you had the same kind of reaction as me, but from the other side. So who's in the middle? I want to know, like you did with your YouTube searches, who these people are who are getting it, and like, you know, I'm sure there was just someone who was more deserving. Yeah.
I think also it gives you the risk of identifying this mythical straw character.
And then trying to be that.
And then, either you become it or you resent it, or both.
Yeah, or both.
And you know, certainly with reviews. I mean, I prefer to believe this, that I am still of the opinion that the people who say they're not affected by bad reviews are just very good at suggesting they're not. People get cut.
I think we haven't had a particularly bad one.
Right.
We had one that was just like,
Wait.
it was just a troll. So
Right.
it was just like, oh, it sounds like they're singing in a big room. It's like, yeah, it's the kind of reverb we were using. Big room reverb. Like, I just didn't understand what they were doing. So it was really funny.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's I think the YouTube video, just some of the comments regarding the fact that you're female and the vocalists are just pretty.
Really, oh god, I'm going to sound like an absolute tit. I haven't read them in a while.
They're probably wise. I mean, if you know, it's me saying that one should. But if there is a possibility that if it's let's say something where it's in an historic upload, don't, because at that point people are only going to comment on things either utterly lovely.
Usually they're really nice comments. We like, I don't think I've actually read a bad comment yet, which I'm really grateful for. Or if I have, I've forgotten because I just have that amazing ability to forget bad comments. Remember that, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I think we're still new and small, so that's probably why.
I've seen the character and the way of people, how they do respond and how they do comment on various YouTube things. It does change from the novelty of the upload, as per, because someone commenting on a very old, I say very old, but like say even a year or 2 years back, so you've uploaded something. Suddenly it comes up in like a notification. Oh, you've got a new comment on this video. You go onto it and be like, it will either be someone who specifically sought you out and be like, that's great, really like it, well done, lads. Or it's someone it's come up in their recommendations. They're like, fucking shit, you know, looks like a rhino or something. You know.
Oh, you know what? I was wrong. I've had some really shitty comments on old interview videos I used to do. Being like, this girl obviously has never heard of electric wizards.
Yes, yeah. Totally that.
Oh, she's shit at asking questions. Alright, cool. Like,
well, the female thing is like, I feel a little guilty actually about, because obviously in Interlock we had, you know, the longest lineup. It was 2 girls in the band. It was a bassist and then my co-singer, and I have shied away from doing similar again because I got so fucking tired of having to, like, every other review is female fronted, you know? So it's just like, I'm just really sorry to bow out of this fight, guys, but I don't know if I can do this anymore. I can't fight that because it's just such ignorance of just being like, it doesn't matter, that kind of stuff. But just to say on the My Time Bride one, there's someone just recently today yesterday, on one of them, I think they had, it looked like potentially like a Hebrew username, but nevertheless the comment was in English. It was just boring. Brilliant. I love it.
Straight to the point.
Yeah. So, and it wasn't even like boring full stop. Boring. Oh!
it was so bored.
Was it lowercase b?
Yeah, no, it's just like standard but boring. I just thought, brilliant. So I went on and I admittedly signed in as another account, so I didn't want to stir too much. But I decided to review the comment. So as reviews go, as comments goes, I give it a 2 out of 10. You know, I've read better. There's not a lot of effort put into it, I think. And, it's sort of, Yeah, it's good to have fun with it occasionally, but like, yeah, as long as you can take it for what it is. I don't know what it is.
Have you ever left a bad YouTube comment on anyone? I don't think I have. Have you?
Yes, I have.
What did you do?
Yeah. It was. Well, I don't know. Does this count? I was going through. You know, we can go idle time into YouTube TV, and you just deep dive into weirdest stuff. And I thought I was clicking on either a sort of dramatized documentary battle reenactment thing, or an interesting, potentially fictional narrative. But anyway, it just looked like okay, so it's like Civil War stuff going on, like, American Civil War, sorry. And sort of watching it, it wasn't very good. I just thought to check the comments, and like all of them were going off on one about the prowess and brilliance of the IRA.
Oh.
And I was sort of reading it, going like, Hal, click away, click away, click away. Fuck. And why did I pipe up? I was just like this, you know, I sort of rewatched the video and went, oh shit, no, they're really pushing that cause, aren't they? The English are absolutely the world's villains. We are, but like, you know, there couldn't be anything worse. And the Irish have it right, and we should have bombed the shit out of them more, everything like that. It's like, I had a bomb scare in 2 different schools when I was a kid, during the worst of the IRA, because I was born in 1980, that's just what happened. And so I was sort of like, why? I don't know why it is you're defending the group of people who thought it was prudent to target a school. And very quickly I got a response back going, no you didn't. They were like, plausible deniability. No, it didn't happen. The IRA didn't target schools, they never did it. Was at school at the time. Definitely happened. Look it up. I did, it didn't happen.
If you looked it up, then surely he.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a cognitive dissonance case, but it's just more that like, yeah, that and it just my guitarist Ewan said something. He was quoting someone else, but he said about there was this particular thing that, like, in relation to comments, online comments, that the greatest pleasure you'll have in the world is typing out a massively egregious but obtuse and argumentative, contentious point on YouTube and then deleting it and sparing yourself nights upon nights of stress. Yeah, true enough. You know. But there are times when it's like, oh, you're so wrong. And it's like, yeah, yeah.
Fair enough.
Right.
That's the next one.
Ah!
I thought this would come up because the father has the same bow and arrows as the skills.
Oh, okay.
So the skills have been passed on potentially by the father.
Interesting. Right.
So number 13, fortuitous number. This card shows a father teaching his son to shoot with a longbow. It symbolises the masculine element in the nature of each one of us, standing for authority, strength, protectiveness that can arise and at times be stern and repressive.
Interesting. Okay. Intriguing. I will start off with saying that's not a longbow.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No. It's absolutely fine. And I'm sort of
that's a crossbow, and that's
Yeah.
I was so.
No. It's what they've written in there is just like that. That's actually far shorter bow. That's more a Greek
Maybe
definition.
is it a longbow if it's a kid using it? Is it a kid's longbow?
No,
It's just a bow.
a longbow is normally about around 5 foot.
I know the British were really good at, the English were really good at using longbows, right?
Mm.
That helped win some stuff.
Actually, cool.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
That's a Greco-Phoenician design where you see the bowing at the end of it. And you would definitely give that to a kid to teach them, so it's totally relevant. But it's just but for me to pull that up as a misgotten detail, it's like, well, you can find there's not actually a picture of death. Yeah. It's not actually totally accurate, so I don't really know. Like, yeah, that's fine. Only reason I say that, weirdly enough, is because I was taught when I was at drama school, one of my combat teachers was a woman called Alison de Berg, who she may still be, I don't know, but she was certainly back then the world's foremost female longbow archer.
That's
oh wow, that's so cool.
Yeah,
That's
and I
awesome.
saw her doing it.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Like, it's not just that you see, I mean, these things are impossibly, like, you say 5 foot 2, it'd be like that.
I'm 5'4".
Right.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
like person sized.
You need to have, it's very simple, it is down to proportion. If you are of a certain size, unless you suddenly get hench through growth hormones or something like that, you ain't going to pull a longbow because it's going to be bigger than you, so it's just a matter of talk. But, impossible is nothing. It's the fact that she wasn't particularly massively tall, but her back was like, just absolutely packed, and you can see it, like, You know, in Lord of the Rings and everything like that, when people like send, and it's like that whole thing like that for a very long period. It's like no, even an elf, no. Longbow definitely not. You can just go bang, and that's as best as you can get. And helpful. But she did this thing, and then up and unleashes, and not only does it hit a mark a field away, but it goes fucking through it. That's why we won action cards. Terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
Christ.
That's they were armor-piercing arrows.
I'm glad Scipions didn't have those. Ooh. Alright,
Yeah.
But the father in general.
I'm sort of the opinion that I think everyone suffers their own father. Well, a lot of guys certainly do. There's still that patriarchal model in effect. I'm very interested by trying to push that just because because one has suffered something in life, it isn't beholden then to those who come before you. They don't have that. They will not do better for suffering the same as you, because as much as your coping mechanism is that this made me the better man, I'm a stronger person, it was character forming, blah, all of these excuses that make you feel better about the fact that you went through shit, is mistranslated as, well, it must be a positive, so I've got to do that. And I mean this from, I wasn't beaten, far from it, but about, my blight in particular is the sense of legacy. No paternal figure in my known or my existing living memory line. So basically, in other words, my dad, my grandfather. Neither of them have ever gone, "You've got to be like me, son." Right? But there's a million ways to infer it, even whether you know that you're doing it or not.
Yeah.
If you have someone in your family, a forebear that has occupied a certain position that, oh, God forbid, is in the same industry as you, they can even, like when my grandfather found out that I actually not only was planning on being an actor, but I just signed up to a drama school.
The same one as his.
The same one as him.
Yeah.
He was like, "I'm going to cut you out of the will. You are not going to be an actor. You are not. Like, are you a fucking idiot or
Is
something?"
that trying to protect you from something?
Yeah, as far as he was concerned. But imagine from a sort of a formative perspective, young child thinking about the future, sort of stuff, heroism is suddenly then the big no says fucking no. Yeah. And not only that, but exactly, never. And then not only that if you do it, I will make your life more difficult. That in your formative years, be it 7 or 14 or whatever, is still the kind of just about that age where you're like, oh, I'm making my emotions now, sort of thing. You can mistranslate or translate, whichever way you want to see it, as don't do that, you might be better than me.
Yeah.
Right? That has not been explicitly said. Never been said. But it's what you take from it as inferred, or it's kind of like implicitly suggested that perhaps there's a concern.
Yeah.
Then other family members can also, not that I've had this directly, but it can be a thing that other family members are like, probably is a concern, and the only way I think really that I, in my own way, have tried to back away from the concern of legacy and everything like that is by going, this dude, my grandfather was working in a decade so far, okay, like really, still, up to his death, he was still reasonably renowned, but the industry moves at a hell of a pace, especially recently. Tech developments have meant that acting is just a different fucking game, I mean, Peter Cushing is still appearing in Star Wars movies. He's dead, Yeah. So the shit that we can do, it's kind of a bit like, in sometimes with tech developments now, with all the kind of CGI thing, it's a bit on the level of Melodyne. I get upset when a producer corrects my pitch. If that's on me, I should have got it right. And I would sooner leave it in, because I don't want someone to go, fuck me, it doesn't seem like it does anything album, sort of thing. I would rather, I'll do my best, I'll do my level best, but I don't want to correct it. Please don't correct me, sort of thing. That sort of stuff. With acting, it's just a different field. Like I said about the repeat fees, that was never even a consideration. And I'm not saying it was easier for my grandfather or my father, or in his own time. It's just different. It's as simple as that. It's just a different field. So for me to go, and this happens a lot, but for me to go, notice you haven't got your knighthood yet. Like, or the worst one of like, you do know that by 40 you'd already acted with Olivier and all this sort of like, yeah, but I do that about Pete Steele. You know, by 40 he'd already been in Playgirl. Like, what am I doing wrong? Kind of stuff, you know. So it's like, yeah, definitely. It's like I think it's comparison with one's forebears, be it patriarchal or not, is a survival technique because they did well. That's how you survive, yes, career-wise. So why aren't you doing the same? But when it becomes the chain around the neck, yeah.
I think a lot of older family members don't understand the difference in economy.
Oh God, yeah.
And like
Yes.
how we can't just go and buy houses and do things like that.
Absolutely.
And it can transfer it to career and things because I think some people think it's very easy to go get a job in the city and just have a lovely HR job where you're paid lots of money to.
Yeah.
I think it's the sentence when they say, "Oh, I mean, anybody looking for a job, well, just go in somewhere and hand in your CV." It's just like, I mean, I'm not being funny, but if anybody comes in and hands me a physical CV, I'd be like, "Well, you living in the Stone Age?" Or
What do you do? You're doing exactly the correct thing, but definitely in the wrong way. Yeah, it's totally that.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, in terms of like, I've definitely gone through peaks and troughs about relationship with the father. That is, every single time you find a low, you get you know, this far away from it and go, that was totally about you. You were absolutely projecting every point in that. You know, but it's not that they are not guilty of certain things, but it's sort of like for a lot of times, I can only speak from experience gender-wise. As a guy, I have found that because testosterone has its wicked way, there is a lot of willy waving. In families, like, behold, the schlong, which is bigger and older than yours, which means it's also wiser. You know, it's that kind of thing, and it's sort of like,
Willy waving.
but it is, you know, it's just the dagger of truth, but it's kind of like, you know, but it's kind of, because also, I mean, I should just say, I have observed not the exact same, but in its own measure, the difference of character and pressure between mother and daughter, being that I have a sister and I have a lot of people I regard as sisters, and I don't mean like, I've taken a few pills with you and we got drunk and I love you and my sister. No, I mean literally, like I grew up with them practically as sisters. And their relationship with their own mother is sort of like, shit, neither of you are wanting these arguments. You're not pushing for these arguments. But I watch you do it, I watch you, both of you wind up to it, and it's like magnets. It's like, you can't stop. And as much as you try and speak reason and be like, guys, you know what's happening again, don't you? Hi! Like those wavy things at airports, like, stop fucking now! You try and do that, but it's like, no, they've got to have it out. They just got to have it out. And it's with the mother and daughter thing I've noticed, there's far more passive aggression. Do you really think that dress is the best one? I did like that yellow dress. You're saying I'm fat. Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously significantly more depth than that, but it's a weak comparison, but nevertheless, it is an extent. And I think it's just with guys and dads, it's just being like, oh, you're going to punch me now? You know, that kind of stuff. Which still happens.
Yeah.
Weird.
I've always thought mother-daughter relationships are quite combustible, actually. I've seen some that are just completely just things going from 0 to 100 so quick. And I think maybe that passive aggressiveness is maybe something, maybe that's key to it, because I feel like things kind of build up over time, whereas I feel like, well, speak from experience as well, like my relationship with my father, like emotions would be conveyed just much more immediately.
Oh yeah, I mean much more blatantly.
Yeah.
And I think in some, not every, but some occasions that happens, I think it's because we as men in this particular time that we're alive are easier to go straight to aggression. Outright aggression.
Yeah.
Whereas I've seen, I've observed more times than I would ever be comfortable with, arguments that happen between a mother and a daughter. But some of the people I'm close to, it's 4 daughters. So wow.
Wow, yeah.
You know, like Little Women. You know the play, the film. It's like that, but like with all the knives out. And I've watched an argument happen in shorthand. Because by the point that they've done it and they got to a certain age, they just were like goldfish. fuck you. What? No, because she's bringing up that thing. 7 years ago, I killed the goldfish and it wasn't my fault. So, well, if you cared about people, it wouldn't have happened. That kind of stuff. Like,
Wow.
what just happened? You know?
Wow.
Amazing. And I know also, sadly, it's not uncommon as well. And it's sort of like, and between my late mother and my sister, there were things that, my God, within 3 words. I mean, my parents can do that with me. Could do that with me. They're able to. Within.
I mean, family triggers you like no one
This
else
is
because
right.
they know your pain,
Right.
they know all the things
Yeah.
that upset you, and they have that knowledge, and
And
no
what
one else
terrifying
does.
knowledge that is.
Yeah, and
My
then they'll just say a word, and you're like, how dare you?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally that. Within 3 words, I have just gone red, just seen red, and just been like, fuck me, dude. 3 words, come off it. It's like, do the dishes, but no, it's more profound. But it's like that's ridiculous to have that much control over someone. And I don't think that's going away anytime soon. I think that's the dynamic of humans. Honestly, I think you rely on someone so much for so many years, formative years of your life, then to try and either reverse, alter, or progress with that relationship is very, very difficult for humans to come to terms with.
It takes a lot of screaming and shouting and tears, for sure. I mean, I have both extremes with both my parents. I have an incredible relationship with my mum. I think we had a very tumultuous one during my teenage years, but partly because my dad was just such a gigantic willy-waving cock, as you called him yourself. And it took her several years to realise that, like, oh wait, it was incredible because she went through therapy and she was like, you were right.
Oh
And I
wow!
was like, what? Which is like the most weird thing to hear from your own parent. She was like, and we basically had lots of conversations, and she spent several years getting away from him, and it's finally happened. And it's just been incredible. She's like a different.
Yeah.
She's not a different person, but we don't have arguments.
But that's a hell of an admission.
It is. She didn't say it necessarily
No,
like that, but she did say it. She did say, like, she said a lot of. I don't want to reveal it on YouTube, but it was incredible. Like, it definitely made a difference. And now, if there's a problem, me or her will just be like, can you not do that? And this is why. And we'll be like, yeah, sure, okay. And like, if we have a problem, my mum will just say, oh, I was wrong, and I'll do the same. And it's insane. It's really weird to have that relationship with a parent, because my other relationship is like not that. Let's put it like that.
Sure, it's completely different. Yeah,
completely the opposite. Yeah.
I have similar, but from slightly the other end of the extreme, that the overuse of apology in discourse, flippant, fly-by comments. Oh, sorry, Diana, just saying, like, but when the time comes that I really do need an apology, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and someone I was working with called me up on this, being like, you apologise a lot. I just thought it was being polite.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know that every time you misuse that, it really pulls the weight from when you should be using it.
How do you relationships?
Yeah. And she was like, how do you actually apologise to someone? It's like, well, I address my behaviour and say I'm sorry for it. Yeah, but you said sorry because you didn't pass them a fork. Why is that suddenly that carries weight, does it? Because you've decided it carries weight? Imagine if you're the person that needs the apology and they're like, oh, suddenly you've decided the fork didn't mean anything, but this one does. And that would that not make you barbed? And it's like, yeah, no, it really does.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be careful about how you apologise to people and what it means,
I think some people over-apologise. I definitely did this because they've been in an environment where they have to apologise all the time. Because if they don't act in a submissive way around a particular person, then it's the end of the fucking world as well. So there's like, it is a behaviour that isn't great for people who aren't toxic, but it's something you need for people who are at the same time.
Oh, it's vital. I mean, in the times that I've desperately needed a sorry of sorts, regrettably I've come up against times where it's like, well, I said I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry, so I can do it now.
I pressed the button. Why are you not? Fucking button. Why are you punching the desk? Yeah, that kind of stuff. So it's weird that seeing people do this and say the magic word and the magic word doesn't work, and then they get angry about the magic word doesn't work, and you're not being receptive to my apology, is that path that I've seen a lot. And I think that pride is the larger part of it.
Yeah.
I have gone the other way in being overly effusive with my apology and realising that it sucked the weight out of it as well. And weirdly, it requires you to walk on an emotional knife edge. You can neither do it absolutely correctly, you can't overdo it because it's insincere. You can't not do it because then you're unfeeling.
Indeed.
And to get that right, I'm now finding this many years, decades into existence as I am, that actually, no, you can't just occupy one opinion position on things and stick to it, and apparently it shows you have integrity if you stick to your guns. No, you need to be fluid, you need to be malleable, you need to be able to change. And unfortunately, as with losing weight, not drinking too much, actually apologising, not being a dickhead, so much of this requires active concentration.
Yeah.
And walking that knife edge it's not just, well, I decided that I just don't like black and white films, so now I'm a film buff that doesn't like black and white films. Why? Oh shit, don't make me think about it, kind of thing. And that unspoken social contracts is the thing that we all kind of need to do, is being active and in the moment and being like, are you prepared to put effort into existing and socialising? Because otherwise you can fuck off to a Scottish Highland if you like. Then you'll just have an umbrage with one of the seals there. Fuck you. Fucking seal. Never says sorry. Yeah.
It was really interesting. I think apology is definitely an important discourse within the culture of Britishness, for sure. Because we are known as the nation of apology, and yet we are also very passive aggressive about it, especially in London sometimes.
I think we're still healing from the Victorian era. I think where it sounds preposterous now, but it wouldn't be beyond someone to apologise after having an orgasm. So I think if that says something, then what does it say about our own behavioural things, about whether it's the done thing to I don't know, identify your desires, your wants, your needs, your ambitions, or anything like that. And as much as you would be able to embrace saying, I'm sorry, I did something and that was really wrong, also have the confidence to go, I want to do this, I just like doing this. If you don't like doing it, that's fine, but that's what I want to do. You are not supposed to have clarity on what you are driving towards, especially in performing arts. If you're seeing, I mean, unfortunately for women, it still exists that if you are really driven, it's like, oh, she's a bit
ambitious.
Oh dear. Oh, it's like, if you're a guy, it's like, yeah, he's probably on something into me, he's absolutely dogged. Like, if you describe the behavioural traits of one of the people who's totally career driven, in any other wall of existence and plane of sort of like career or anything like that, it's a fucking sociopath. No, take 637. It wasn't right. Come on, man. It's like that's not okay. Stanley Kubrick, for as much as he was an absolute genius of a filmmaker, also probably very difficult to work under. I understand apparently he's a very nice man, but on your 67th take of being got at with a baseball bat or something like that, you're gonna feel shit. And so, but he was really he was striving for brilliance. What if he got brilliance first?
What's more important, his brilliance or the mental health of his actors?
At what cost? Exactly that. And it's worrying to see that the people who burn out the quickest are sort of like, yeah, man, what a guy. Really? Yeah. All right. Right.
That's the next card there. The message inverted. Not the massage, the message.
Yeah.
That's also come up every time, I'm pretty sure.
That's another musician's card. I will read it to you. It's number 34.
Oh.
Message in a bottle. Lying on the deck, drawn up from the ocean depths among the fisherman's catch, lies a bottle containing a message. This card symbolises the promise of a message, whether it comes by letter, telephone, from a friend, or there again it may come from our own inner depths. The card warns us to be prepared and receptive to the message with its tidings of important news.
And it's inverted.
It's inverted,
right.
So maybe it's bad news.
If it is inverted, I should.
Oh, sorry, yes, I inverted it.
My late grandfather imparted, rarely did do this, but would impart some incredible advice. And it was only ever on his own terms. That sounds like a sort of, oh, my daddy fucked me up, but it's like, no, he was an impossible person to communicate with for the most part. When he did occasionally impart some advice, it was gold. Some of them, one time he said, in our industry, and I think this is applicable across all formats, any performing art, he said, nobody ever comes up to you, taps you on the shoulder, and says, that's it, Sinden, you've graduated, it's the next level for you, and you can now demand this amount of money for the next show that you do. It will only ever be you that awards yourself that progress. You don't, and I think this can be applied to, you don't receive an email from Equity saying, as an actor, you are now on level 3.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
you know, you don't have an email from Metal Hammer going, congratulations, you have passed your exams, you are now going to have 16 inches of column, you know, rather than sort of, you know, they are. I don't mean to brag, but it's, well, read
Full 16?
We have extended your column and but your header has now become a footer.
Explains my spam folder.
But yeah, no, I do think it's true. He was right in the sense that nobody rewards or awards you with a poignant moment of like an anchor point of going, this is your point that you've done it, you did this right. He said further on this that you have to put yourself into that next position. The next job offer you get, you can be like, well, you know, actually at this time I'm charging 70p per hour rather than, you know, like, oh, you were 20p last week, yes, but I swallowed. You know, the next stuff that you're doing, if it doesn't work, and it doesn't work with absolutely anyone at all, nobody catches onto it and you're left unemployed, then you've done it too soon, and that's just your own mistake, and that's what you're going to have to do. You just preempted it, we all make mistakes, and you go back to not square one, but the last one you're at, and hope that people catch back on, you know. But nobody, whereas, let's say, you're working for, you know, Goldsmith Hound or you know, wherever in the city, and someone literally gives you a promotion. In our industry, we don't have promotions. We don't have those levels. You know, one cannot say realistically that Ishan is, you know, he is a star. You are a proto-star. You're a B-list.
I'm a red wolf.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Consuming all that goes around me. Yeah. But yeah, that's why I think that basically, like, we have an absence of communication about what professionalism means and what progress is, the results of it are, and whether the meritocracy has allowed you to go this far. It is absolutely you daring yourself to go and do. Are you precocious enough to go, actually I cost more now? You know, because it used to be that the ever-changing, I mean, it's a bit like, you know, nowadays kids are being brought up totally cognizant about the thing of the algorithm exists. All hail the algorithm. Nobody knows what the rules are, and as soon as you know what the rules are, they have to change it because that's what the algorithm is for. Okay? The same absolutely applies with the whole of this industry. We have never been able to say this, you know, this guy is successful because every time that he does a film, his name is before Julia Roberts,
yeah,
or whatever it is. I remember a while ago when we were booking tours where it was down to how many MySpace fans we had. Okay, then it took something like a series of months for promoters who tended to be a little bit older than the bands to realise that you could buy MySpace fans, as you can on Facebook and Instagram and everything like that. So then they changed that because they were being, in essence, a living, breathing algorithm, being like, well, we're going to change the goalpost because people get wise to it and exploit it. And then it became like how many YouTube, you know, subscribers you have or something like that. And there's always this undefinable sort of like, you know, point that, oh, this defines success. Well, no, we'll just buy it. Or this one does. And again, what that means to me is further verification that do not expect to be handed this opportunity. You have to go and find it. There is not a message that comes through to you going, well done, chap, next one.
I think it rings very true because, you know, from the perspective of someone who is being on the side of employment as an employer, it's, you know, why on earth would you pay someone more if they're not asking for it? And why would you offer someone a promotion or pay someone that's going to be doing a good job regardless? Yeah. So, I mean, you'd like to think we live in a society where employees are like, well, that's great, so let's reward that person because they're working hard. Right. But it's just not the way it works.
But you saying I should ask for a raise?
Yeah. You just got to tip that wink a bit like, if some people were so good. If only that we can do 20p more per month.
20p!
On a rather frightening other scale of that, I'll try and do as compressed as I can, but my ex, her mother, lovely woman, have you ever heard of Pitsea in Essex?
No.
As a place? No. Probably a very good reason. You want to know the most famous thing about Pitsea in Essex? It has the UK's largest Tesco.
Wow.
That's its crowning glory.
Must be very
Yeah, it's amazingly shit. And so her job for the longest time,
She worked in Tesco.
she worked in Tesco, and her job for absolutely fucking ages was the graveyard shift in that Tesco Extra Pitsy. And that means they'd come in when there's no fucker there, they'd have to put on not just gardening gloves but stuff underneath it and stack the freezers because it's just terrifyingly bad for you. And she'd do all that, and she plugged away at this shit for like 20 years or something mad like that. And at one point they rather randomly went, "Congratulations, Anne, we're going to give you this certificate, you know, the UK's longest serving employee for Tesco." And she's like, "Thanks, what?" And "Thanks, I hate it," kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
fucking whatever, thanks, put it there. And a certain period of time followed after it. She got contacted by like major management going, "Can you come into the office, right? We want to give you a promotion." "Don't want it." "No, we're giving you a promotion." So, "No, thanks, I'm happy where I am." "Okay, don't know if you're quite getting this. We're giving you a promotion." Like, they had been told, the major management, because you know the investors in people, the IIP certificate, you kind of have to have that now as a UK company if you're large enough. You have to be seen to be nurturing all of your employees' sort of future interests in their career. They had been given a directive that if someone has been working for you under your company's employment for X amount of time, has been at one position, and that position is particularly tertiary, you fucked up, and we can haul you up on it. You have to give them further progress and everything like that, promotion. They basically were doing, like, you know how in the army, you can get, of course, unceremoniously fired, terribly from the army, but if you've done something a bit wrong and they're not going to drag you over the coals, they will promote you to a position that is untenable.
Oh, like if you've tortured someone in Iraq, then they'll do that.
Legit, that's literally what I'm referring
Yeah,
to.
promotion, yeah.
Yeah, no, honestly, and it's really scary, and I've met people who have had, who like, "You're definitely a war criminal, why are you a major?" That kind of thing.
Exactly.
And it's like, "I'm a major because I had to resign." Like, man, you got off so light. But like, okay, but that's a nice way of like, off you fuck.
Yeah.
So for this one, for her, it was a case of, you're having the promotion, or we'll fire you. You know, so it's like, but and her principle though was, "I don't want this. I earn exactly the right amount of money. I've paid off my mortgage, I give money occasionally to my children when they need it, and I can teach kids to trampoline on the weekends. This is my existence, do not change it. I'm perfectly content." And they couldn't get around it. They just like, "What? Why? Why don't you want to?" And it really jarred. The first time I heard it, I was like, "But doesn't everyone want to progress?" I'm like, no. She found a comfortable position. Why did she want to move? Some people don't want to move. But I do get the thing of, why would you hemorrhage more money without someone asking for it? And that's our capitalist society. That's just as it is. Because there are American companies such as Google where apparently, they've tried to buck that trend by randomly, giving you your just desserts, and then avoid paying corporation tax. But I'm going to assume that it's that one.
Very good.
That's good, isn't it? Pattern recognition. I'm on it.
You're about to get your certificate?
Oh.
It's the tree, number 23.
Doesn't look like a particularly happy tree, but okay.
Oh, that's an interesting interpretation
Yeah.
of the tree. A stylized tree, it says, with roots and foliage equally emphasized is shown. Let me turn the page. That's not the description. This card symbolizes growth, knowledge, and development. It is a tree of life with its roots deep in the soil and past, giving strength to its branches. It stands for tradition, protection, and strength of the family tree that links all men together.
I'm assuming that
It's a bit old.
Anachronistic sense of like. Yeah.
It also uses like whores at one point as well, so that's in the beauty
Demanding
description.
whore.
A woman like a demanding whore. It literally does says that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you get the beauty card, you'll find out.
Oh,
That's-
wicked.
yeah.
Okay. Amazing. I'm a male whore. What? A man. That'd be intriguing to see. That's interesting because you're saying about the roots stuff, which I'll just interpret in the way that people tend to be talking about roots now, about heritage and whatnot, and the integrity of legacy and blah 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 and other such tropes. I'm someone that is extremely concerned with more immediate legacy, like those that have come very immediately before me. And a very tough learning curve came around when I sort of had to realise that you know, perhaps bequeathing property, finances, whatever, isn't necessarily as fantastic as I thought it was going to be. My old principle, right, when my late grandfather was earning a certain point in his career, he had breached a certain income level of barrier that he progressed to a thing called super tax, whereby over a certain bracket he was earning net 1 penny in every pound. 99 pence would go in taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was set up at a time that it was sort of like, well, you know, you've earned enough. Now his argument constantly was, who is decreeing enough? Why have you decided that, oh, he's got enough money, they won't tell, whatever. And so he paid that for a long part of his career, okay? Did all right for himself. And then when he died, we then had to pay death taxes on what he had bequeathed to various parts of the family. This really irked me, okay?
Yeah.
Now I've slightly changed my tone in recent times because of basically being under this Tory rule for so long, you start being like, oh man, no, it is that bad. But originally I was just like, how many times is it feasible to tax someone? I figure the way that it should be, that yes, your social contract is you want to be part of the society, you have to contribute to it. That's not unfair. I think that's quite reasonable. And financially it will take much. Do you like having your bins taken away, then pay your fucking taxes, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But to expect that it's okay that once someone dies, then you penalise people further. Now, the thing is, now at that time, I only saw taxes as like a penal code. I'd be like, oh, that can't earn enough for that. And it's like, yeah, but that would be cool if there weren't people that were literally like at the poverty line and under.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there were other people that started sort of changing my perspective about going, but why is it okay for you to have inherited something that you didn't earn or buy? So my angle at the time was like, no, surely it should be a person's own decree to say, I want to protect my family by making sure they have a house to live in.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas some serious people that I'm influenced by and good friends of mine are like, when I die, these are people of arguably the next generation, but a friend Dave said to me that when I die, I am leaving nothing to my children. So, and he's not badly off, he's a pretty successful artist and everything, and when that happened, it really threw me. I was just like, that's so fucking harsh. But he was like, why? They haven't earned it. But, you know, I have housed and fed these people.
Yeah.
To the point at which they become adult and can fend for themselves. So why am I doing it again? You have a complaint, Hal, that you've got this person in essence got taxed twice. Why am I being taxed twice? I've provided for these people as my children, right? I've done it. Now, obviously, that raises huge ethical things like, are you ever no longer responsible as a parent?
Yeah.
You know, people will say that this is one opinion, it's not fact, that's what this decree is, it's just that's your opinion over it. I'm starting to come around to the thing, it's like, actually, no, well, that's that person's life. As much as I was concerned about matching the legacy of that, you know, my grandfather or whatever, there's also the thing of like, well, then don't, you know, if you're going to become resolved about you don't worry, I don't have to be here, then don't expect his money.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, the flip side of it, unfortunately, is it means I've become a little ashamed of when my grandfather died, parts of the family, I mean, it wasn't really a vast fortune by any means. If anything, he was sure to make bricks and mortar as the legacy of it, and I totally get that. You know, they come from that part of my family come from the thing. It's like, if it's a building and you own it outright, that's your security. It's like, yeah, but that would suggest that buildings always stay up. You know. Yeah. But nevertheless, it's come so perverse actually to me now. It's come around the other way, and I'm slightly ashamed of the fact that shit, I haven't earned that part of this little bit that I've got a section of, a fraction of. It's like, am I really due that sort of thing? But we'll see. I don't know. But it's just sort of like, how much do you rely or expect on roots and where you come from? Should you actually be chucked unceremoniously out of the family house door at aged 18? Fuck off, make your own way. You know, is that a healthy thing to do? I don't know. Because effectively what you're doing, my friend is doing, is a version of that when he dies, you're on your own, mate. You know, so it depends which way you see it, I guess, but it's just, you're still booting someone out of protection.
Do you feel a sense of, when you got your what your grandfather gave you, did you feel a sense of like connection to what he gave you? Did you feel like love
vastly.
from
I
it?
would have. I mean, the nature of loss and grief itself is that you crave more.
Yeah.
You know, on one hand, yes, and I would have loved for more so that I can inherit more and understand and keep on drag bits and remember him by various material goods and everything like that. But as a friend of mine, another friend that I was working at another company for, had said that if you inherit certain things, let's say a house, fiscal elements, or even simply trinkets of their thing, you feel beholden to create a shrine for that person, and that is another anchor that's around your neck. If that makes any sense. And is that entirely healthy? Probably not. Because you have, let's say, you want to go down the really, really extreme route of it, like you inherit the family house or something like that, and let's keep Grandpa's room like it was when he died. Like, fuck it, man, that's a room you're never going to use.
Yeah.
That's really dumb.
Yeah.
And you imagine explaining that to a person who was ultimately pragmatic and being like, yeah, we don't use that room because that's yours, Grandpa. You idiots! What are you doing? You know, so it's so yeah. I mean, I would have liked to hold on to more, but if I get anything from this, is being taught that lesson. Every time you say it, it sounds like such a fucking platitude, but nothing is constant. Everything will die. So we're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die. I hope you feel better
You know,
about that. Yeah.
but it's like really nothing lasts. And I thought that was like cross that bridge when I die or come to it. You know, that kind of thing. Don't worry, it'll happen in later life. No, it's definitely happening now. You know, careers aren't lasting. Parents are dying. You know, all this stuff and like what you thought you'd inherit, you don't inherit. Why did you expect it in the first place? And things just fucking go. And that has been so important to realise that. And to sort of come to terms with it, because it means that, like, as a married man, I mean, now it is not the done thing to get married. It's like totally pointless. People are doing it for fiscal reasons, if that. Whereas I've done it from being a bit weird about it. I'm quite obtuse. Our marriage is like we've decided to, in the wake of everyone going, this is totally pointless. We're doing it because my wife and I have said, yeah, I'm not religious. She's a little bit, but I've figured that if I give my word, bond. Sort of thing. So what we figure out is neither of us owns each other. It's just that we're deciding to walk through this bit, as in life, hand in hand. There'll be times when she's behind and times when she's ahead. Likewise with me, or times when I'm going to have to carry her, or when I get exactly the same the other way. It's a fluid thing. But it was folly to say, oh, we're going to marry and we're always going to be like this. She's not going to have purple hair for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
You know, my beard will not always be pointy, but we'll all be looking at the same moon. You know, and it's ultimately, I like the idea of going, well, yeah, we're just going to do it together. There are times we'll be screaming at each other, but minority, but it's just like, we're that weird enough to say that I give you my oath. You know, yeah. Don't know how I got to that from that.
It's so romantic.
Yeah.
How long have you been married now?
We're married in 2011.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
So yeah, and it's been, we had a shit ton of people turn up to our wedding. This isn't a boast, I just love it. We had 220 people at our wedding.
Oh, no way.
It was really cool. It's one of the best parties I've ever thrown. That was fucking fun. Because it was sort of, you know, just at that age where like we were still like partying really hard quite regularly. And we're all there, and like obviously the family are there, and we're like holding champagne for us, going, fucking wrecked. Oh, lovely to see you. It was the brilliant debate. It's like holding a house party but inviting all your family as well. It's like, man, can we get completely ratted? Don't know.
I remember seeing the pictures pop up on
Yeah.
Facebook, so I didn't really know you properly
Yeah.
at all. But I don't know if we know each other at all. That's cool, you know. Awkward moment. Anyway, I was like lurking on Facebook as a 20-year-old. Musicians for fun and be like, what are their lives like? And he got married, and I was like, whoa, like, because Beth was in this beautiful grey dress and she had her hair all coloured and it was like a barely fresh teenager. I was like, that's so fucking cool, and it still is. Like, it
I
was
designed that
beautiful.
dress.
No,
Yeah.
it was gorgeous.
Yeah. We were working with a very lovely friend of ours that did the designs, and she, Beth kind of quite soon realised that I would be Bridezilla. Groomzilla does have a ring to it, you know, but it does happen that way, and I was very definite about what I wanted to be wearing. It's like, you're not having a fucking say in this. Like, no, it's going to be a vision in grey. And she was like, I don't really really know what to do with the dress. Don't worry, I'll deal with it. And the brief that I gave this lovely person that we were working with, I would rather it be a single piece dress rather than skirt, corset sort of thing. On the I'm okay saying this, don't worry, she has okayed it. It's that the proviso was I want to be able to rip it off when we get back. I promise you that was actually the brief. And as much as that was like, yeah, go on lad, and stuff like that, we got back to the hotel.
You've got bright reds.
I had to be cut out of my cravat. I'm getting back to the hotel, I'm going to rip this wedding or something. Fuck. Typing my cloth, babe! Hey! Snip. It's just so fucking hot. It's really not. Snip. Yeah, so that happened. Yeah, it was cool. We decided to go full grey with that, and it was great fun.
Great fun.
Yeah, there you are. Very good.
Big.
Yeah. It was good because it's just like not a lot of people sort of a lot of our friends did the what do you call it? Registry office kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, quick, dude, yes, quick, out, sort of stuff. And we were like, no, I'm going to do it a little bit trad. So, yeah.
It's fun. Big cake, lots of fun.
That's the thing, yeah.
Do you want to guess what the next card is?
Yeah, I'm going to, oh wait.
It's a bit harder now.
I think it's that.
No.
No, it will be that then.
No.
Oh, fuck, okay, it's that?
Yes.
Yay! Okay.
Ooh, libido.
I thought it said that, I can't fucking be that. I won't pick on it.
It's not the whore card, but it's, oh no, it's this falling apart.
Oh, I think we've all played the whore card.
It's number 17. Alright, I love the art on that one.
Yeah, that's
I'm not
good.
gonna leave it for a
Peacocks are
story.
very much my spirit animal.
They are gorgeous, I love the sound.
They're completely elaborate, completely useless. Can't fly. It's just like, and that's it.
But the men are much less functional than the females. Alright, so peacocks are seen flaunting themselves in luxuriant gardens where a snake creeps through the foliage. A fountain gushes up in the background and flowers blossom in beauty to the fore. Libido is the Latin word for pleasure and has been used by psychologists to describe the upsurge of energy that is channeled into the sexual drive, the arts and other human activities. The card thus Let me try again. The card thus oh fuck's sake. I didn't even realize you're doing this to me at the same time.
No pressure.
Go on then.
You asked me to take pics, babe.
While I'm talking. That's perfect. Thank you, darling. It's Instagram worthy. Okay. The card thus stands for freedom and particularly sexual pleasure. The snake can be seen as the serpent in the Garden of Eden or as another joyous manifestation of the life force. This card also implies an awakening awareness of the self and the psychic force of the Kundalini.
The psychic force of the Kundalini. Right, interesting, okay.
Are you a Kundalini?
I don't necessarily fully subscribe to it now. I did have a bash at the reading the Kama Sutra. I didn't actually try that much in it. I think a lot of it was lost on me. But I read it in pre-teen, I think. So.
Well, it's probably not the best time.
Yeah. Well, it was the best, and I was sort of like, no, thank you. No, it was certainly intriguing. I'm not as into necessarily some of the Eastern sort of spirituality of sex, or at least the last time I looked into it in any depth, I wasn't. That could be revised.
You know, it hit the UK in the 18th century.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moravians were depraved, and they were fully subscribing to this Kundalini shit, which
yeah.
was brought over by a guy called Count von Zinzendorf.
Excellent.
A brilliant name for a snake sex guy.
Snake sex guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in the sort of Blasphemy and Sedition Act in England, which was on its merry way to being repealed at sort of kind of turn of the century thing. But if you know the Lady Chatterley's lover, which was a key point in contentious litigation of it was brought up under the Blasphemy and Sedition Act, and it was just absolutely disgusting and immoral and everything like that. And it's intriguing that obviously if you consider the name of the act itself, it's that something was obscene is therefore seditious and against God. Now it's describing carnal acts. If anything, I mean, having read Lady Chatterley's lover, not really that into it. It's just they have sex. There you go. Great.
Yeah.
But it was fucking hell for Victorians. And the case was lost when the last summation was given by the prosecution, and the QC that gave it. And really, I must ask members of the jury, would you allow your staff to read such an act of disgust? You know, like allow your staff, and it's like that hits such a point, a class war point of just being like, you know, you are so out of touch.
Yeah.
Allow your staff to read that. But, yeah. The Bido thing. For 2 years running now, I've been on the panel for the London Fetish Film Festival. It had its inaugural year last year. Arguably long since overdue. Why not? Why should it not be represented? However, this year we ran into some really intriguing things with it, in that in discussion only this week, funny enough, with my fellow panel members about deciding where the votes should lie and where really people would run. Put it this way, I had invited a load of people to see, because it was an online event, obviously, as you might imagine, and a good programme was put together by our curator, and there was a point at which one film was being shown that involved a particular act that I had a lot of my friends message me going, mate, I'm out, that's my hard limit, sorry, there you go, that's it, done. And I myself was like, yeah, I'm not really into that one, I've seen it before because I had to see everything. And I was like, no. So I raised it with my fellow panel members to say, not that we should never do that again. It's more that I just want everyone to be aware that from a point of audience retention, viewer retention, just be aware that we lost a lot of people when that happened. Is this something that we should take on board? And then we realised that it's this really peculiar position, this dichotomy that we have of, are we entertaining people, or are we occupying a position that is underrepresented? Do we need to care about, like, are we trying to retain a body, an audience, thing, or if the flip side of it is that we self-censor, which is totally against what we're standing for, kind of thing. And of course, with libido stuff, it prompted me to have a bit of a self-reflection and going like, you do need to expose yourself to things to know whether you like them or not. That is not a blanket rule, it's not universal language.
There are certainly some things one should repress.
Right.
Yeah.
For instance, heroin is off the menu.
Yeah.
I smoked it unknowingly once.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I was 15, and I wasn't told that it was basically super skunk that someone had just decided to put heroin in it, and so I absolutely bottomed out. It was not a good occasion, very uncomfortable, don't want to do it again, thank you. Main reason I don't ever really want to try heroin is I can't bring myself to inject. Because as much as I'm pierced to high hell, I'm not great about the change of pressure. The vascular changing. Not that I think that my veins are going to suddenly explode, I just don't have the concept of it. Yeah. So thankfully it means I'm not going to be using heroin anytime soon. So I know that I don't. Similarly, I don't need to experience murder to know that you probably shouldn't fucking do it. However, there are friends of mine who are within my circle of friends within the fetish and kink community. One of them once described me as fringe kink.
Not a hair-based thing.
No. But no, it's as far as they were concerned, I sort of like dabble on the outskirts of it.
Oh, okay.
Right. So my friends that are not into it are like, fuck, not into the stuff you are. Like, what do you think I do with that peacock? But it's sort of, I know categorically that each of my friends, I'm not going like come to the dark side kind of thing. I'm not trying to sort of pervert people in that way, but it's more that the friends that have come and like, do some of my friends do this? Some of my friends make films that do this, and most of them, I can't say all, most of them have gone, that was quite cool,
Yeah.
And I'm yet also to encounter anyone that went, that was quite cool, and then came back to me and went, my life was so much simpler before that, you fucked it.
Yeah.
I'm not sort of suggesting that it's sort of this wandering messiah of kink, being like, I tell people what they didn't know they wanted. It's not that simple, but there is something to be said about exposing yourself to unusual experiences. One has to carry a sense of responsibility with it, I think.
I think you have to have a lot of responsibility and boundaries and knowledge of consent.
And when to pick up when someone isn't enjoying something and not necessarily able to say that they're
Precisely.
not. And I don't mean bound and gagged, unable to go, it's like you always give someone a safe word, but sometimes, and I would be a class example of this if I wasn't into it in the first place, is that my politeness is such that I don't want to tell someone I'm not enjoying something.
Yeah.
So that could lead to some really ropey situations if I were so inclined. For instance, what I meant perhaps initially was that, like, if you want to go and experience something, like, I don't know, I want to get pissed on by a priest. Weird thing to do, I'm not into that myself. But if you wanted to experience it to see if you like it, it would not quite be the prudent or polite thing to do. As soon as it happens, you're like, nah, fuck this, don't like it. Stand up and walk off.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that person's been good enough to
piss
indulge
on
in something.
They've had to drink the water, they've got to do all the...
And it's a priest. But yeah, do you know what I mean? So I think there has to be a point of responsibility of going, like, you can't just go around going, oh, I'm going to experience everything. If I don't like it, I'll tell them to fuck off. Yeah, you've got to be careful with people's libidos because it is an occasional factual thing.
You can't just also go up to someone and be like, can you shit on me, please?
Exactly.
Which is,
yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
It does happen.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And yeah. But I mean, it's like, yeah, areas like that, I'm not that really into it. But it's more that I mean, there you are. There's an example. I can pretty conclusively tell you that I have no interest in being shat on. Scat isn't my thing, and it's merely because there are too many things that would involve that I've already experienced of myself that I just don't really want to have that happen near me from anyone else, frankly. No, not for me. So the whole rule of, oh, don't knock until you tried it, is like, no, don't worry. There's elements of which I've tried to, and no, thank you.
Sometimes you just try it in your mind, and that's enough.
That's enough.
Yeah.
That's absolutely it. But I mean, for instance, what I love is seeing, like, friends of mine that I love and cherish dearly as friends suddenly go, why is that hot? It begins. Oh my god! I never thought you could pretend to be a cat. Yeah, fortunately you can. But if you like it, that's cool. It's like you start to see people going like, what? And there's actually a very sublime moment in human interaction when you have the honour and benefit of seeing someone realise they found something that, oh my god, that's so hot. Really? So does that mean if I show you this picture? Oh my god!
It's like this, but with cats.
Yeah. On the end of a pole? No. Yeah, so the libido is a delicate thing. It's rather than necessarily the sort of frail ego of a man or anything like that. I do think that libido is across all genders, and because I am sensitive about my own, I prefer to be sensitive about everyone else's.
That's a very good way to be.
I think it's only fair, isn't it? Yeah.
Speaking of cats, I'll tell you who definitely is into pretending to be a cat. It's George Galloway. There's that clip he was on Celebrity Big Brother a decade and a half ago.
Really?
Do you not don't know this clip?
Yeah.
It was
It's like
him
a
and
leotard.
Bruno
It drinks
Leinster.
the milk.
And it was just...
It's
And it was,
I want
because
to
I was
drink
like,
your
would you
milk.
like me to be the cat? And it was, it's good watching.
I've got a story about Bruno Leinster if you'd like one. I was doing a Shakespeare with her up in Ludlow in 1999.
Who, sorry?
Rula Lenska.
Oh, okay.
A fabulous actress, really very good. She has maintained being a certain age for decades. It's quite incredible. And lovely, lovely person. But she unashamedly is quite predatorial, should we say. And we had
I see.
Yeah. No. Well, yes. Not quite. I was doing this play, and for some reason, the director, I think, perhaps took a shine to various things and had me pretty much snogging so many people in the cast, and it was very strange. And one of them was Rula, and shall we say, she didn't hold back. And it was great fun, and there were photos. So when I sent the photos of the rehearsal process through to my family, like, what's Rula doing to her? Oh my god! But one of the offsides of this, a lovely fellow called Terry, who I was playing the two villains, sort of thing, unsurprisingly perhaps. Seriously, in my acting career, I have lost count of the amount of times I've either been cast as Satan or the villain. Typecasting is typecasting, but I have other strengths too. But I didn't even have a pointy beard at the time. There's something about the man. Like, all right, cool. That happened. So I was playing the two villains, and lots of stuff happened on that production. It was the worst injury I've ever had in my life, for instance. Life-altering injury, and not through snogging through the lens growth. Point out, there's two divided. But this fellow called Terry, who's a sweet guy who's playing one of these sort of kings. The play was Pericles, and my entrance in the first part of the play was through a trapdoor in the ramparts of Ludlow Castle, and I had to sort of I was naked doing this address, and then my exit was that. For some reason, Jimmy, the director, decided that it was pertinent for me to kiss everyone. Also, Terry's character, which is this king. And Terry, shall we say, like Ruler, didn't hold back. There is a state... Yeah, okay, on screen, if you have to kiss someone, you can tell if you're not into it, right? You kind of do have to kind of slightly go for it. You don't have to fuck people at all. And you can if you want to, if it's both consensual. But a screen kiss is a screen kiss, unless we're talking the 1930s. But I do so levels so terribly well. Kind of.
It's just weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
They just headbutt each other with lips.
They just touch their lips against each other.
And they just really hard.
Yeah,
is
they
that
tense
sexual?
their lips.
Yeah, it really did look that way. But stage kiss, you don't have to tongue someone, right? You don't really have to French kiss at all. You can get away with it. You're a fair distance from the audience. They'll not tell. Not according to him. And after a while, as a bisexual guy, I'm fine, all right, cool. And I'm an actor. You do things, but I've got to it from a personal level. It's just like you kind of don't need to do this. And I'm not that into you. You can pull this back a bit, literally. And I was kind of verging on the thing of being like, yeah, I don't know. Now up at the Ludlow Festival, which is where we were performing, we were the headline thing of it, and we were there for quite a while. There was a fair run of it. It's still that part of Shropshire where it's kind of like trad existence, may have changed now, but as is the want for many years, you're up there, you're a play, you invite the key members of the town to the final dress rehearsal before the first night, okay, as a preview, yeah? But what we're talking is that at that time it's the mayor, the mayor's wife, the mayor's goldfish wife, the local abbot, the bishop, the vicar,
The whole chessboard.
Or the whole fucking chessboard. And you can imagine that they think they're coming to see a Shakespeare. I'm getting tongued senseless by most people.
Gay Shakespeare.
Gay Shakespeare,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And this thing happens,
Gay
and then... Willy Wobble-Dagger. Well, within Shakespeare, it always works. But, so this kiss happens, and it happened within the first... I don't know, 7 minutes of the play happening, okay? And you could audibly hear the intake of breath in the preview. And I thought, something happened. No, it's like someone's been stabbed or something. It's and I don't mean it's more like, a kind of thing. Fucking. And then the message came from, I think it was the abbot or something weird like that. But basically, seriously, it was as near as damn it as cease and desist. You will remove that from the play, that kiss. I went 180, come here, Terry. Absolutely getting my tongue down your throat. Everyone's getting fucked, and we're doing it on stage. How dare you say you didn't object to the girl being kissed, did you? Ooh, now I'm gay and angry. So we really fucking kept that in. For a while. And Rula, she's great fun. Absolutely great fun. But when the photos came back there from the rehearsal, the entire family were like, fucking hell, habits don't die young, do they? Because a lot of my family have acted Rula as well, and it's same experience. How many generations of Sindens do you want to get through? There you go, libido.
I think that card's definitely, I'm not going to make a joke. That's the next card.
Oh, fuck.
You're in horny prison. Okay,
Right.
That's 37.
Or
Should be.
prison, as we like to call it.
Should be Brula, should be the one in Horley prison.
Jailbait.
This one's pretty short.
Right.
A manacled prisoner languishes behind bars, but the sunlight floods into the cell. This card stands for those situations where we are seemingly trapped, where the key is turned on us and we have no freedom of action.
It's good lighting in that.
It's like a good short
Well,
film. It's
yeah.
something you reviewed in your festival, perhaps.
Well, this is it. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a kink. It's backlit and you can see all of his face, which is a phenomenally difficult thing to do when you're shooting with like broad sunlight. You know, because you get the backlit thing, but you've got to bounce everything
It's
back
all
up.
frizz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, for instance, with like fine art and everything like that. This is an amazing thing that when you look at, say, I suppose leading from Renaissance up to, yeah, I'd say sometime around the 19th century, is that I don't know how this was missed, or just missed really from fine art, that nobody considered the focal fields and perspective. You've got like, right, one of the true masters in my like Canaletto. There are people in the Restoration of Venice who have used a Canaletto painting to know what the dimensions of the building would be that they were restoring.
That's
he was
insane.
that accurate. I mean, that's.
I didn't know he was that accurate.
Yeah,
I think
no.
he invented perspective.
Yeah.
Was it Giotto or was it Canaletto?
Well,
It was those guys.
yeah. But isn't that amazing that he was doing that from, you know, kind of thing, not measuring literally like I want how many yards is that. He was doing it from but he was that fucking good. The restoration projects use Canaletto as reference material. I mean, it's as good as a photo. Yeah, that's.
It's the same with horses. Have you noticed? They couldn't do horses till like the 19th century.
Really weird,
It's
isn't it?
really strange
Yeah.
how people just don't know how to draw horses.
Well, you ever tried to draw one? They move.
I haven't. Well, on the page or?
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, but I mean, it's why there aren't that many, photos of a good steeplechase. But it's like, yeah, I understand that, with a lot of animals that are faster moving, it's like you get one to stay still. I mean, with the dogs stuff, they just used to give the dogs laudanum.
Oh.
So you've got plenty of dogs but sleeping,
Yeah.
right? Not ones that are like pointers and poinsettias and everything like that. But in any case, it just seems bizarre that nobody kind of went, okay, if I look at one eye and try to look at that bit and then that bit, no, it's out of focus, and nobody started introducing this until let's argue. I mean, this sounds terribly wrong, but until the Impressionists came in, it's sort of like the eye realism sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I adore stuff like Titian and everything like that, where you've got a diorama that's like 12 or 18 foot large, and you can go over and you can have a fucking there, and it's like, oh my god, you see
a bit
things
of a
there,
vein.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, there's someone standing in the foreground, and they're perfectly in focus as well. But yeah, just in relation to that, it's like getting lighting right. It's like, you sort of look at like Renaissance stuff, and it's like, but how would they have been lit then? But then, have you ever seen the Bayeux Tapestry?
Yeah.
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 Stunning, but fucking nightmare in terms of like, is he standing on top of him? Or is he just slightly further away?
Are you sure horses look like that?
Yeah. Help! Maybe they did, and we just don't know.
Maybe they just saw a cartoon vision back then.
Well, maybe they're just like that. And the cavalry shot's like, shoot me!
It's a Cronenberg version.
The Bayeux Tapestry is the earliest body horror piece. Harold's there just like stabbing his own, like, oh yeah, don't look until you try it, bitches.
It's a blast beat.
Right, so, I mean, restriction, yeah, I mean, I suppose I just link that to being sort of breaking through different forms, like between, film and music, and sort of, there are people who would love for you to be identifiable as art, but that's what that guy does. Please keep doing that, we get confused.
Yeah, if you deviate from a sound, it's like, oh, they're bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had this, even reading the comments stuff, and there's a guy that said on the more recent video that we did for NDB that he was like, let me just ask, do you think that like the early 90s stuff is better? It's like, I'm sorry to argue semantics here, but you use the term better. Like, that would imply that that the band are writing on a polarised point of existence. The time, like they can just elect to go, oh, we'll just do it like the 90s again. Yeah. It won't be the same. And even if they do an impression of what they were doing at the time, it won't be the fucking same.
No. It's like saying, was pizza better in the 90s?
It was pizza. That's the thing.
Pizza has changed.
Yes,
sure.
undeniably.
Different flavours and
it's
bases.
so weird.
Yeah.
I remember the time when the most exotic,
go and have an exotic like foreign foods. Satay sticks. It's got peanut in it. I thought we've had peanut for a while. It's got peanut in it. Shut up and eat it. That kind of stuff. Like that was literally the most exotic thing. Oh, you've got the cheese and pineapple sticks. Or you have satay.
I remember my hummus and olives at school were like a point of extreme exoticism, fetishy exoticism. I was just like, oh, what's that? What are you eating? It's some weird paste, and now it's a Waitrose everywhere.
Now you can just order it in.
Yeah, everyone eats hummus now.
No, they really do. Yeah, I saw someone. Oh, that's it. Someone's done Marmite hummus.
Yeah, I saw that.
Really?
It's disgusting. I've not tried it. But
I would give it a bash. I want
Marmite,
Bovril hummus.
there are Marmite Christmas foods now. Have you seen it? It's like a stuffing-y, pig in blanket kind of pot pie, English food thing. One of those. It's like a cup. And it's just got the mark. I'm so sorry.
Foreign muck!
You know how the horses look like someone didn't understand what they were? That's what's going on in Nina's brain when she looks at English food.
English food.
Until I met him, I thought spotted dick was a joke. I didn't think it was a real
No, it's a
dick.
genuine
I don't
pudding.
know.
Body shaming isn't cool.
Yeah, I just thought it was a joke that English people had.
It's bizarre, isn't it? I don't like spotted dick.
I don't remember which one. I know one's some sausage and some potato.
Toad in the hole?
That one.
Yeah, that's
I don't know what spotted dick is.
It's basically you can get treated for it.
Right.
We were on tour we were in like Liverpool or something like that, and it was one of those, we had a drink that night of the show, and we sort of woke up with a colleague and we were like, oh, I can have a greasy spoon. Went to a greasy spoon, and they were like, can I have breakfast, until we got to our one vegetarian in the back. Yeah, do you have a vegetarian breakfast? Yes, we do. Okay, right, and they bring it out, and it's like beans, egg. All right, okay, fine, it's not vegan, but right, it's vegetarian. You might be able to get away with that. And black pudding.
That's the way.
So John was like, hi, I did all of the vegetarian ones. Is that coming out? So no, it's vegetarian. You want a vegetarian breakfast? Is? That's black pudding, yeah? Black pudding isn't vegetarian. Yeah, no, it's black pudding. What is black pudding? It is pudding, it's black. No. It's made from blood. No, my friend. Good talk, yes? No, it's literally made from blood. Oh, okay. We watched them do it. Just go behind the counter, scrape it off, bring the plate back. That's not how it works. You literally just scrape blood off my arm. I'm vegetarian. Quite strange.
Yeah, I think I had it once, and it's just the black pudding. I've not had any spotted dick. Sorry.
One can lead to the other.
Spotted dick is like a raisin pudding. Is it? Is it raisin?
Yeah.
It's like It's a bit like a Victoria sponge full of raisins, kind
Oh,
of.
that sounds
It's kind of a
horrible.
pastry
Kind
sponge
of.
in some
Yeah, like a
respects, but it's
pastry
got-
sponge.
I'm not a fan.
That legit sounds horrific.
No,
Why
but
would
yeah.
you put raisins in anything?
You know that there's a colour
Alright.
thing of like, oh, the English don't have any identifiable
I'm not
cuisine.
going to make any comments on that.
Right, but,
Right.
okay, all sexual connotations aside, if you give someone a full English,
Yes. I tried to put them aside.
well, I scrape it off the edge of the plate and get it back. That's not for the likes of you. But yeah, the full English is known worldwide as one of the most colossal breakfasts you can have. Okay.
But have you ever had a Turkish breakfast?
Oh no,
It's
I
a
have.
paragraph of food.
It took 2 months. It was very much dinner when we finished. Yeah, and the other thing is also what the French called us for the longest time, and sadly they don't anymore. We were ROSBIFs, roast beefs.
Oh.
That literally is as it sounds. It is. We are the roast beefs. Because you know how like,
Is that
Americans,
a good thing?
we were limeys.
Oh, I
Because we
see.
literally were travelling with lime because it's the easiest, most transportable source of vitamin C.
Mm.
But the roast beef is just, we're obsessed with just like, cow, burn it. Yeah, pff, done. They just love roast beef, you know, and it's like, yeah, we do kind of have quite identifiable markers of cuisine.
Yeah.
It's just been subsumed into international cuisine. But every now and again you come across something that, for instance, what's the Turducken?
What?
Oh, with a duck and a turkey.
Yeah, it's a bit inside a bit. That was flying. It will fly. You have to train a tiny starling to fly into a duck, and then train that duck that contains a starling to fly into a goose, and then into a swan, and then resurrect Henry VIII so he can go bang on, get it up.
Was this the
You know.
video that people didn't like? at the film festival.
Yeah. Oh, what are you doing? The Merry Wives of Windsor, just not sad. Yeah. Yes, that I do that we do have an identifiable cuisine. It's just unfortunate the Second World War, with rationing and what have you,
Oh, yes.
meant that for some unbelievably weird reason, people decided not just blanching food but boiling it to within an inch of existence, and therefore rendered it completely tasteless.
And fruit became just
Yeah.
strange. Yeah.
But there is a very valid reason for blanching something in the cooking process, by boiling it, but you don't do it for long. But we just got into the thing of boiling cabbage until it was basically see-through,
Just a fuck.
which is fucked.
Yeah.
It's really weird. But we do, like, Christmas dinner is Christmas dinner. It's I know, I mean, it's the most super basic thing in the world, but if you look at what the herbs and spices we have available to us, I would say naturally within arguably the last 500 years. So you've got easily stuff like basil, which yes, of course, does grow in Italy, as far as Italy, but we have it.
Yeah.
Parsley, certainly. You know, oregano, or hibiscus like that. So it's now regarded as a kind of pan-European herb palette. But we had that available and we used it in a certain way. And that was English cuisine for the longest time. It's just the Second World War that fucked it. So basically, it's the Germans' fault.
Oh.
No, but honestly, it ain't that bad, I think.
My experience was many school dinners and
Which is horrific.
pretty
School
bad.
dinners,
Crunchy, lots of weird rocks and hair. I don't really understand how they got there.
See,
Yeah.
my parents are Scottish, so I'm kind of from a different type of British cuisine, so...
That's different, and I've got a rule. I don't know if I'm being difficult about it. I've decided, because I haven't yet had haggis. I really want to, but I've decided I want to have it in Scotland.
Yeah, I think that would be smart.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah.
sort of like, otherwise you're like, if one would not necessarily go to the dead centre of England, to the town there, and order seafood.
No, exactly.
Right? Because you know that's travelled some fucking distance.
Yeah.
Even with refrigeration being what it is, it's probably going to be dangerous. Intrinsically, the Scots are just dangerous anyway. So, you just kind of like only have a haggis and hope they don't headbutt you.
Yeah.
That's how it works, I believe. And then, of course, if they have daylight, you can just confuse them. Like, look, the sun, what?
Yeah, no, I can attest to that, yeah.
Right, I'm assuming that one.
No.
Oh, so it's the future
Yeah,
thing
this is
ahead?
your outward projection.
Oh, shit.
What will it be? The wheel
The wheel.
inverted.
The wheel is, okay.
Ah.
Can you invert a wheel? By its virtue. I'm going to be really difficult about that.
What's around the wheel?
You can order its plane.
Oh.
I suppose
So
if
it's
you
about time
that-
rather
yeah.
than
Can you
distance.
invert a plane?
Yeah. Yeah, if it's a two-dimensional, well,
If you just look at it from the different aspect of what you're looking at. So if you're looking at...
well, not a pervert.
Alright, I'm going to read the wheel. A water wheel turns in the stream, driving the unseen mill above it with a strong brick wall shown, whilst golden fish swim among the reeds. This card represents the principle of things endlessly changing and forever staying the same. It stands for constancy and persistence.
Like the, was it Don Quixote about fighting the
Windmills.
windmill?
Yeah, so
that is,
jousting
it was
of
Quixote.
windmills.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's a lovely an allegorical tale, I think it stands to that very much. But was it supposed to be that the only thing that is that you can rely on is change, which another of these platitudes sort of thing. So I think things are going to move. I thought that it was always there's only two things you can rely on in life, and that's death and taxes.
Yeah.
But the wheel, I suppose. I am not. I'm going to sort of maybe sort of conversationally flip the table that I don't subscribe to fate or destiny or.
Well, that's probably why it's inverted.
I imagine so. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly that. I find the concept of predeterminism utterly terrifying,
Okay.
and out of that fear, I have arrived at a point of relative resolution over how I perceive time to exist. First and foremost, I am utterly solipsistic. I can't prove that it's all only happening to me. It doesn't mean I lack empathy. Well, that's a bold thing to say. I have a lot of empathy, don't I? But honestly, I don't know anyone else's mind.
Yeah.
I can't prove that everyone else exists. I just know what I'm experiencing right now. If it's in a simulation or whatever it is, and it's all a dream, fine, whatever. but I do know that I'm at least experiencing it. And the concept that there is an other that is somehow governing, because if go down that slightly populist route of like, oh, if there is a God, you must be phenomenally cruel. It's more that I just find that a terrifying concept, that there's something that I have no, I could get, I don't know, beaten up or arrested tomorrow. Yeah, I can't necessarily change that. But it's not that I'm going to get beaten up forever. It's this kind of thing. I just don't see it. I like chaos. I really am. It's not just that I'm resolved about it. Let's go full Games Workshop. And if it were, Slanesh all the way. Of course! This is not going to be fucking cool, is it? I mean, first album is okay. But, so, like, chaos, I think, I couldn't be more of an adherent to. I see myself, if we were to use, let's say, visual metaphors and everything like that, I see myself in the form of existence as hurtling through absolute chaos. And it's like when you have a sparkler as a kid, and if you can kind of look at it quick enough, you do that, and it does that thing of like all of its flares are going that way, and it looks like Halley's Comet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that. It's a spark that's very definitely going to have a finite point. It's going to run out, as far as I'm aware. But it's just hurtling through that, and nothing's to find the other side of it. I can't tell you what direction, because it's not a direction. If we go all weird about it, but yeah, I think that the chaos I like the unpredictability of it, and I like the fact that I have some agency as much as I'm prepared to award myself.
It's interesting how people seem to be either one or the other camp. You get people that take comfort in the fact that they don't know where things are going, but then there's others that just are so freaked out by the idea that their life doesn't have structure or that much significance in the grand scheme of things.
And I think that also goes down to the whole rather scary thing of like the conspiracy nuts, where it's sort of like, I do agree with this thing that's been, of course a lot of people have read it now, but it's the thing of like, so much conspiracy theory is based on its fear of like, how can it be chaos? How is it that
they need someone to be controlling the world.
Yeah. How is it that nobody is controlling this shit? Because surely it's so cruel.
Because it's so cruel. It's got to be some horrible people. There's got to be one demographic that we can just delete.
Yeah, and I just wonder that, sometimes, because I've regret, I have a number of friends that I've lost to full-on, hyper-scale tinfoil hatchery. That their hat is like this fucking big, and it's like many stages.
It's a sombrero, tinfoil sombrero.
But one of those cartoon sombreros, like, what? Satellite dish kind of stuff. Yeah. But really, I have two ideas. That one of them, I've noticed that many of my friends that are embedded into that conspiracy thing is like, spend time around good company.
Yeah.
And the distress slightly melts away. And the distrust slightly melts away in good enough company. Just remember when we could have fun without suspecting that the fun was Big Pharma. That's now. I'll do it now. But just to say that the other thing is just that the other one is just to go and spend some time, I don't know, if you can afford it, on safari. And go and have a look genuinely at nature. And realise that Werner Herzog was absolutely bang on right. There isn't this glorious beauty in nature, and no, it's fucking murder and horror and malice and ill and disgusting stuff and other things eating other things when they're not even fucking hungry.
Yeah.
That is what we are living in, and just because we've decided we're civilised doesn't mean that that is not the most dominant force.
Yeah.
Before we stop, I need to put my Blake hat on. Because I fucking love William Blake. And he has a poem called The Marriage of Heaven and Hell that he wrote before he started his prophecies. And in that poem he writes, without opposition is no progression. And he draws this guy hurtling through the sky in like a spiral. And this guy's like, fuck. And that's Adam, and that's his idea of like, there's no good and there's no evil. It's all just fucking us travelling through space at hundreds of miles per hour. And we're all twisting around, and all the stuff that comes at us, like restriction is a form, it breeds creativity. That's what happened to him when he was trapped between this horrible, like, religious pressure that he was under, and he wanted to be the spiritual Kundalini guy.
Yeah, and he suffered from doctrine horribly.
Yeah, and he fucking hated that
I
shit.
don't subscribe to the thing that it is necessary for an artist to suffer in order to create anything.
I can agree with you there.
Because if that were the case, then Lord Byron wouldn't have made such incredible poetry. The man didn't want for money.
Yes, and then every single person who's gone through hardship would be Shakespeare, and there would just be too many Shakespeares. I mean, the Tories would have created an absolute breeding ground for art. Yeah.
Otherwise, Nelson Mandela would have made the most wicked concept albums.
His guitar would fucking rip, yeah.
Winnie, I'm stuck again, 5! The triple disc edition. You know? But yeah, however, certainly opposition will breed that, but I unfortunately sometimes it's slightly used against a lot of creative people being like,
Yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
you've got to suffer for art. No, you don't.
He meant historically.
Yes, that's
yeah.
completely
Yeah.
that breakthrough mold, but yes, definitely. I think that Blake was a fascinating character, but also not entirely without some faults.
Oh, absolutely.
But one can't help but notice that the absolute prevalence at the moment now with so many commercial, like even blockbuster movies, okay, tentpole fucking superhero movies and shit like that, that more and more and more and more that the anti-hero is becoming the everyman.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've
we
got to have a
all
flawed
know
hero.
which movies you're talking
Yeah,
about.
right?
Yeah.
You've got to
Yeah.
have a
You
flawed
wouldn't
hero.
understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, he's been through some shit, and he's got to atone for
That
it.
means
by-
it's okay.
That means-
you can go
yeah.
shoot up a school.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, thank you. That's the thing. It's like, you know, it's the acceptable anti-heroism of like, oh no, he's got some problems it's not that he beat up his wife, he just didn't like her.
What body would you eat?
Yeah, I've wondered about that.
Well, was I saying this the last time when I said
I think
apparently
we did talk about
it's
cannibalism.
between the fingertips is meant to be the tastiest part?
Sorry.
Well, like this bit or this bit?
What?
Between the fingers, sorry, not between the fingers. Sorry.
Are we just going to do
Just
this
make
every
it
week?
slightly wet.
Really? Is that supposed to be the?
I don't like bony bits. I don't want finger. I want thigh.
I would, when I'm usually training, because of my build and everything like that, I have sort of basically fat kid and everything like that. My chest has always been large, and even having not trained in a while, it's still sort of there, but you just training gets harder. I once had a girlfriend that had bigger tits now. I know that when I die and people want to consume it, I would advise the breast.
Yeah.
As long as I've been training.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If that's what, right? So we'll clear on that?
Yeah.
So only if I've been training. If not, I mean, people always go straight for the arse. And I understand that.
Yeah,
I'm not really an
that
arse
makes sense.
person because it would be like all the stuff that's gone in and out. Yeah.
You can get the outside of it, it's just the connotation of it is a bit like.
It's been on so many toilet seats.
That's the thing, right? And then, but the other thing, I would always figure that maybe the quads would be the obvious choice because it's the largest
That's
muscle.
why we're quads. It'd be like a steak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
like a
kind of
steak.
what figures to me. It's
Yeah.
just it's not the horn. No, it's not the horn. It's
It's
yeah,
just
but
us.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense that. But would it be very tough?
Well, it depends how you prepare it. I would
Yeah.
marinate it and then barbecue. I
What?
think I would want to be kebabbed.
Wouldn't you really?
Oh,
Is it-
100%. Do not roast me or put gravy on me. I am being kebabbed and marinated.
Okay, because I thought that like if you just prep it in salt to break it up for a bit, you know, it's just power and whatever. I mean, but you got to work out like that if
You'd be
you are.
koshering it if they did that.
I suppose you kind of would, wouldn't you? Is it salted how? But like it would suggest that if we are eating meat, that it's probably in desperate situations. I would hope, or maybe I'm just that tasty.
As you ordain us to do so.
Yeah, quick guys, come on mine. But you could kind of imply that maybe if it's got to the point of eating other humans, do you have the utensils to do a sort of like let's flambe?
Well, it depends on how brutish you are on the food chain. If you're like head barbarian, then you probably could. You have like a kitchen of orcs that you
Barbarian
give
number
the toe.
7.
You second toe. Bring me the gravy, you know.
I'm a beta barbarian.
Beta cuck barbarian. Jordan Peterson's there in the kitchen scrubbing all the like.
Well, but Jordan Peterson's just the pot wash. One of these times I'll be head chef. Yeah.
When I clean my room.
Yeah. He's such a brave boy.
Yeah. Brave. Oh, there's one card.
There's
Can we
one
guess
card.
which one it's going to be?
Yeah. I think it's going to be. Do we have the lover in this? Or is that subsumed
You've
into the
got the
veto,
beauty.
isn't it?
I don't know if you have the lover. We'll find out if it's.
Well, let's find out, okay. The sage.
Sage. You are the sage.
All right.
Number 31. Don't eat the bum.
Bingo!
Bingo!
I got it!
An aged
monk sits at his desk making notes and sketches. All around him are the artifacts which symbolize ancient wisdom. This card stands for wisdom, learning or science. It is perhaps advising us to draw on the traditional store of wisdom that has come down through the ages. It stands for received authority, for family tradition, for prudence and professions. Seems like a very Hal card.
Well, yeah, okay. Self-doubt is a thing, right? And your perception of oneself is always, well, I suppose in some sense it should be challenging yourself. You know the trope of the jack of all trades is the fool of it, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
My grandfather aspired that if he'd ever wanted to aspire to be something, it would be a polymath, of just like really just excelling at absolutely everything that you turn your hand to. I've sometimes become aware that the perception of me that has come about through extended conversation is that I seem to know a lot about things. I don't. It's more that I was taught, it was drummed into me, that no matter what, everything always seems to somehow boil down to you're at a dinner party and you should do X, Y, or Z. Never make someone feel uncomfortable or butted out of a conversation. If they are not being spoken to by someone on their right, you include them in your conversation. But as a rule, it's one course that way or one course that way, and that's generally accepted as what's formally nice and good. But it was so very, very important to be able to converse with anyone at any level. So it would help to know a little bit about most things, kind of thing. And it's not that I'm there reading the almanac going, quick, fuck, I don't know anything about how to make a sausage. It's not that so much. I mean, I find a lot of things interesting. It's stuff that I just be like, fuck, really? Are we talking about that? But in the hope that nobody is made to feel uncomfortable, in any kind of conversing thing, I genuinely find people very interesting. And I do actually want to talk with them about what they find interesting, because I find that so addictive that when you see someone genuinely fascinated by something, But the side effect of it is some people think that, oh, okay, he knows loads of stuff. Kind of don't. I know enough to get by. I can't for the I'm shit at electronics. I've had to get a lot better because I was co-running a vape company, and now working cameras. I'm suddenly finding myself, my God, I've just run a diagnostic in my head. I've never done that before, So it's important to have a general thing, but it does lead to this thing about the self-doubt of like, you don't really know an awful lot. You know, periphery that you're able to say, oh, I do know the French name for something or other. Because, I mean, obviously the concept of wisdom is a little bit of an odd one, isn't it? Because people are sort of like, yes, he's very wise. But in what? In what area? There are now people who, I think it gets bandied about possibly unduly, but this whole business of, oh, he's on the spectrum, is starting to become a sort of, it's becoming a sort of like hackneyed diagnosis that people are using. That I've heard it leveled against people who are just very interested in one thing. So it doesn't mean you're necessarily, autism is a very serious condition, as we all know. So none of us in this room are exactly going to be like, oh yeah. It must be great to be autistic. No. I mean, conversely, someone did once say to me on Denmark Street, when it was having all the guitar shops there.
Oh God, yeah, it's shallow.
It's gone now. Yeah, it's just funny. But I was speaking to one of the lovely fellows there who always used to bring just to one place to get our guitar set up every time we record. He said that, this was prior to people using the term, oh, he's on the spectrum as a generality, sort of thing. That he was saying that it is quite an interesting trait you'll see of people like Vi, is that you look back at interviews about like, how did you get so good, and there's amazing tale that he'd be sitting on the loo and he'd be still running and eating food and running scales and everything like that. It's like, in other circumstances this would warrant probably some quite good care, because that kid's like really to the point of distractions. Like autism can be life ruining. I've met enough people who are autistic to be like, you just can't function properly because of this, the terribleness of the disorder. But he was right in the way that people who just are able to devote so much time to one particular thing, that the mechanics of learning something is sort of like, I mean, is that wisdom? I don't And what I'm saying that if you're sage, if you're anyway sagacious, that you have a worldly knowledge, which is a broad knowledge. It's not super refined.
Where would you draw the line between intelligence and wisdom then?
Well, isn't it that someone said something? It's like that intelligence is the information, wisdom is using it.
Yeah, precisely.
I think that's certainly true. I think wisdom would imply that you have experience of what you know about.
And understanding.
Yeah. But that's not to say that the great hermits, the people who seclude themselves away in a cave for God knows how long, come back and literally have the answer to the world. It's sort of like, yeah, you do on reflection for the very short period of time you experienced it. But it doesn't mean that they weren't necessarily hyper intelligent. Greek philosophers, there's people saying now, oh, those Greek philosophers, what did they know? They were just paid to be intelligent. It's such an idiotic, weird thing to say. But it's like, yeah, you can be, when I was working in law, for instance, I worked with an amazing lawyer who, she was educated in Dublin, just beyond lettered, absolutely incredible. And I once watched her search for, I think, just a little around maybe 12 minutes for a folder that she was holding. So it kind of goes down to the thing of like, you can be worldly or intelligent or wise or all these different things, and they mean a different level of experience and whether you're self-aware. I used to work in a university, and members of faculty were just bordering on that thing of, I don't quite think you can deal with humans, can you?
Yeah.
But it was so vital to have them on the team, because that when they could occasionally function in a room with more than 5 people in it, what they would impart was fucking gold dust. So it's great that you've got this kind of like bit of art that you'll see. I've seen that like it shows a rather, again, the term anachronistic, but it shows this kind of assumed thing of like, oh, he's wise, he looks vaguely hermit-like, sort of, and ecclesiastical, which isn't necessarily. I mean, I've met some of the greatest wisdom I've ever heard have been from people who what do you call the roadside services people, and you can make sense why they are. It's like you experience so many different. The broadest spectrum of humanity is because when your car is fucked, your car is fucked. It doesn't care if you're a QC, That will change, by the way, because we've heard about the thing, just as a side point, that that so many cars are being built now with integrated operating systems that are absolutely working from, a modal PC base kind of thing. And that now a lot of manufacturers, such as Mercedes-Benz, I believe, I'm told, I'm not a big petrol head, are part of their warranty legal terms are that if anyone other than a registered BMW or Mercedes technician gets into the OS and starts recalibrating, then you've avoided your warranty.
That's
Fuck off.
So what does that then mean? Consider, I'm sure you already got there, but let's say in this day and age, a woman is driving a car that she bought because it was safe. It breaks down in the middle of Badsville, and now she can't call the IAA or RAC or whatever like that. She's got to wait for a fucking BMW to come in from wherever, fix the car, and don't worry, your warranty's fine. No, not even a chance.
No.
That is, talk about ingrained obsolescence, but that there is really risky. It's no longer a machine, it's just a computer that operates bits of machinery. Or maybe I'm just sounding like one of those, the grandparent generation. Oh, you young whippersnappers, back in my day, the cussed maintenance, blah, blah, blah.
Just hit the car.
Just fucking hit it until it works,
Yes.
Yeah.
Slap it about a bit.
My great grandfather on my father's side, my grandfather's father anyway, had a Jag, and it had a dent in the driver's side door, a pronounced dent. I mean, the paint was definitely worn out. And what it was, he used to smoke a pipe, and if you've ever smoked a pipe, when you have to retake, you have to tap it out. But he goes, bang! There's a fucking great big dent in the side of it. Yeah, that's his car. And when it got to the end of that car's life, and it served him something stupid like 40 years, it's unheard of, right? And this thing was just tonk. But it was like, it was having a few problems, the fucked became a bang, and all this stuff like that, and he got it into a garage, and they were like, you are paying insurance on this thing, of course. Were it to experience an accident, that would cost you less. The fixing this car is like, I get what you're saying. All right, okay. So he went into a country lane down in our bit of Kent, He was going, okay. And he was going to do the kind of automotive version of scuttling a car, essentially, until, weirdly enough, steam and then smoke started billowing from the bonnet. It's like divine providence, fucking wow! And so he just kind of like, oh shit, wow! Parked up at the side of this very, very rural lane. And I just kind of like looked at it for a bit and went, okay, well it's a Jag, the old ones are all metal, and it's like sheet metal, so if you touch it, you burn, okay?
Yeah.
So he's like, brilliant. He just went and just sat on the grass verge the other side and just watched it burn until suddenly he was just about to go into a proper bit of fire. Huge body of water comes over and just puts the whole thing out. A local farmer had seen that this gradual smoke was getting worse and worse and worse, and had got a JCB, you know, the, what do you call it, digger scooper things, filled with a trough of water.
Wow.
And did it over a hedge and went, and put the fucking car up. I was like, no, no, please. I mean, lovely of the farmer to do that.
It's true chaos of the wheels, huh?
Damn you, chaos! Give me my fucking car back. Yeah. I don't know how I got to that. Well, there you are, fixing cars.
Did you get the insurance?
No, this is the. Well, I mean, back in the 50s and 60s, it was sort of a little different. That sorry, a little bit like the 70s. That it was kind of like you could tip the wink to someone and be like, it kind of is fucked, isn't it? So he didn't get a huge amount from it. It wasn't a huge payoff, but it was more that like to have even got rid of the car to dispose of it. It would have been like, oh man, it's going to cost you so much. It's weird, isn't it, that you can buy something for that many thousands of pounds, and after a while you've got to pay someone to take it away. That's just wow.
You've got to pay someone for having paid for the thing.
It's double taxing again.
Yeah, you go your whole life, and then you die, and people have to pay for it. It's strange. It's very strange. But anyway, the cards. So you have your compass. The money is the center. You have a lot of stuff that's about heritage. You've got the tree. You've got the coins in the ground. You've got the father and death. You've got that. You've got the libido. You've got the wheel. The things turning, seasons going. The wheel of life. That's you. This is your life.
This is your life, Hal Sinden.
Do you anyone actually remember the show? This is
I
Your Life?
vaguely remember a book.
Yeah, I used to
And I
watch it.
remember an old
Yeah.
man and him going, "This is your life."
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
One of my earliest memories, being on it.
You were on it?
Yeah.
You were on it?
For my grandfather.
Oh, okay, that makes
I
sense.
think your grandfather had one.
Yeah,
Hurrah.
and one of the things, if you remember, I don't know how much you remember necessarily of it, but one of the things was that it was supposed to be a lovely surprise. And here's your cousin
family.
Maureen that you haven't seen for 17 minutes. And it's like the two huge doors would be like, oh, how lovely to see you. Of course, fuck off, everyone knows. It's just nice for the viewers. Okay, so the two doors, like fucking Star Trek, thing. And behind it, they'd have a fucking enormous printout of the photo that it concerns, yes? Kezia and I, Kezia is my cousin, she's 2 months older than I am, and we stood there and we were supposed to be dressed in a particular thing, and we would go on and we would recite some lines from Romeo and Juliet, and we were 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did this,
Oh.
but in the waiting
On national
bits,
TV.
yeah, and
Wow.
so we're waiting at this. We didn't know about the huge, fucking great, massive 2 doors that goes, and we're sort of waiting there, and all we have in front of us is just a massive picture of Grandpa. It's fucking enormous, which means his nose is this big, and we're like, ha ha ha, ha ha, Grandpa's nose is huge, ha ha. Romeo! Yeah, that was a weird experience. As a 5-year-old, 5, 6, having 2 massive doors part and there's a shit ton of people and loads of cameras and lights pointing like, oh, this is what it's like. Ha! Yeah.
It's a formative experience for sure.
Yeah.
What was the name of the presenter? I can't remember.
Well, it was Michael Aspel at the end of it.
Yeah,
But
that's what I remember.
the first guy was, that's embarrassing because he was the most, that's terribly embarrassing. He died and then Michael Aspel took over. Yeah. Isn't it fascinating that it does that? I'm still slightly, I need to look into more about what inversion does necessarily, or what it represents, but I suppose it's very subjective, isn't it?
There is a book if you want to go and read all the things.
Bloody hell.
I haven't actually read it. I have it in case someone's like, tell me more, and there's like chapters on every single card.
I used to cast runes
Oh, cool.
Ah,
back in the day. my little dalliance with paganism, which didn't last terribly long, but I tried that, and I mean, cool, but as a 13-year-old bringing that out at house parties, we're like, what the fuck are you doing? Why have you got these pebbles with gold writing on it in a purple satin sack? Want to be like a chakra? What the fuck is a chakra? Why don't you drink your whiskey? But yeah, I certainly used to do that, but it's the subjective nature of it is you do see people sometimes go, oh my god, that's so true.
Yeah. It's very easy to. I think it's definitely a Jungian thing. I think we all see symbols. We all often see the same symbols, similar archetypes. I think they all mean something to each individual. It's totally valid.
Dream interpretation is something that I fell foul of recently because I have some very close friends, and occasionally I dream of them because they're close to me and everything like that. And one of them is this very, very wise person who, despite being almost like, well, she's 8 years my junior, seems like she's 200 years old and sort of has known all humanity forever type things. You know, there's some people who just happen to have that quality to them. And so she bends my mind over loads of things quite a lot, so it means I dream a lot. And I kind of got, it's something of narcissism to it, that you wake up having had what is to you mammothly profound dream time. And you literally wake up and I'm like, fire to Laura, seriously dude, what the fuck? I had this dream and like you were a dog and then it turned all pink. And of course, for me, for quite some time, I couldn't ever work out her response was like, okay. And it's like, what you've just done. It's like, imagine being on the receiving end of it. You're just like, beep, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, it's so profound, man. You know, like, oh, what are you talking about? It was so weird. But yeah, so, you just sometimes have to rein it back with dreams. You know?
I think some people have some really entertaining dreams. You had an entertaining one this week about Christ and
About?
It was, God, I can't even remember it.
I think it was maybe something about, oh god, I can barely remember it now. This is so entertaining. It was something about us going on stage with rotting Christ and not knowing any of the music.
It was me, Nina, went on stage with David the Stain performing a Rotten Christ covers set. And I freaked out and got stage fright in the dream because I was thinking, fuck, I don't know any Greek. And yeah, it was bizarre. It was downstairs, it was in the shop.
Oh, it was in a shop? I thought it was a bloodstock.
But it kind of morphed into it once you know, there's that thing in dreams where locations just completely change.
I absolutely have recurring nightmares and dreams every night. I mean, it's always a nightmare of some sort. And I don't mean that I go, life is a nightmare. But it just happens.
I have a dreaming disorder, I can relate to that.
Yeah, right, so so it's got night terrors and everything like that. So so often it can sometimes go between, it's either acting or music, that it's like, I'll be like, dude, you're on in 5. What? I'm wearing my glasses, I haven't even done my hair. What songs are we playing? Who's the president? You know, it's kind of like, it's really fucked. And like, there'll be a Shakespeare and Kenneth Branagh is directing. Like, isn't it great that you've done that? You finally got that. What play is it? What? Like, you don't know, you haven't learned your lines. What fucking lines? Oh shit! Yeah, so yeah, definitely that. Performance anxiety, I think. Yeah.
I usually get like, at the moment I have one pretty much every night where I'm on my phone. I have to try and call the police because there's like a fire or a murder. And I'm like trying to type 999 and I'm just like, no. And it's just one word keeps deleting.
Oh man.
He's going back and I'm like, no. It's like when you've got water on the screen.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I forget what I'm doing. I'm like, wait, there's a fire. I'm not like that. So yeah.
My father-in-law's phone. You know that if you press, even if your phone's locked, if you press the right thing long enough, it means the emergency. Okay.
Yeah.
You ever done it?
No.
Not on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Because maybe it's just his phone, I don't know, or the payment plan that you have. But suddenly, at like 11:30 at night, all of us got this message like, you are listed as an emergency contact for Derek.
Oh my god.
Here's his location. And Beth just white as a sheet. Like, and he just sat on it wrong, and just like messaged basically his entire group.
Sure, that's crazy.
Of being like, this is where this man is, he's in trouble. Oh fuck! Yeah, that's not a good moment.
Wow.
So don't do it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's horrid. Well done.
Thank you for coming.
Not at all.
It's a pleasure.
That's great fun. No, I didn't expect it to have this alignment, and it's been sincerely actually very interesting.
Oh, I'm so
So it's
glad.
really